And I believe we are live.
Oh, are we now?
I hope
Are
so.
we?
I hope so. We're a bit late. Yeah. Hello, guys.
Hello.
All right. Welcome to the Lucky Hit Podcast. This is episode 79. Almost 80. Ooh. We're 1 week away from 80.
What a scary number.
It's a nice number, if you ask me. Pretty nice.
Yeah.
So it's the 14th of July 2020. Sorry we're a little bit late, guys. Had some mic issues. Basically had to put my old Snowball mic back in, so hopefully the sound levels and stuff are all good on my end. But hopefully it should be all good now.
Yeah,
judging
things
by
were a
the
lot.
green and yellow lines, it looks fine.
Things were a lot worse yesterday. Otherwise, we'd have recorded on Monday as usual.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So basically, we ended up doing the podcast today because we just wanted to make sure we were all here. So
Yeah.
because we've got stuff that we all want to talk about. So yeah. Right. So I am the Gagaman.
I'm CherryT.
I'm ShelvedGamer.
I'm Hunk Thunder.
And skip it a button, dada. What's
What?
going on, everyone? My name is Elk from Elk Plays and Paints. Sorry.
I was not expecting that.
That was high.
This is Elk from Elk Plays and
I was
Paints.
about to say, we did expect Review Tech to be in here today.
he paints and or plays.
And
Right.
reviews tech in the USA.
Right, so I guess we shall start with this podcast how we usually do, and that's with what we've been playing. So I don't know who wants to go first.
Mine's quite short, to be honest. I haven't been playing too much.
Okay.
So mostly just Mahjong, to be honest.
Oh, right.
Just a lot of Mahjong. I mean, I've been playing the Clubhouse games, worldwide games, whichever one it is.
Oh, yeah, the 51 games thingy. I think it's 51 worldwide games in the UK, I think. But yeah.
Yes, and so I've been playing that. I've been working through most of the games, but I've mostly been sitting on Mahjong trying to actually get to grips with it, and obviously it's hard. I'm getting there. I'm starting to grasp the general sort of gameplay loop of playing Mahjong. But
Sorry about that. I dropped my microphone and hit the push to talk button at the same time.
Oh,
Don't worry.
That's all right. I don't think I noticed it, but so,
Oh,
So-
I was pretty loud, but whatever. Go on.
yeah, so I mean, what can you say? I've just been playing Mahjong and I've been mostly losing.
Ron.
Yep, it's a
Ron.
lot. A lot more than I'd like.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been playing that, and I've just been playing a bit of Sunset Riders
Nice.
still, and a bit of Fantasy Zone, because
cool.
hearing about what we will talk about today has made me want to play a few Sega games. So I've been playing some Fantasy Zone, and I very nearly beat it, but it's a bit.
Oh.
It's a pain.
Yeah.
I think I managed to beat it on the 3DS version, but that was only with save states.
I'm trying to sort of do it without any of the help like they give you, like the money help and things like that. Not that that really does a lot towards the end of the game anyway.
No, true.
So I got to the last level, and it's basically a boss rush where all the bosses are faster,
Yeah.
and there doesn't appear to be a shop at all. So if you die once, you lose you have no option to get power ups, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
So I got to there. And I think that's mostly it, to be honest, because I've just been waiting for my Darius collection. And
Yeah, it's in the post, isn't it?
yeah, it should be here
The
tomorrow,
physical-
hopefully.
Physical Switch collection. It's both of them, isn't it? So you're getting the one
Yes.
with the arcade games and the consumer version. with
Yes,
the
I had to.
consoles.
Yeah, I had to buy the game. I didn't buy the special edition of it, which came with both in one box. So I had to buy the individual games each,
Oh, okay.
because they just sold out of the box version, like the double pack. So
Interesting.
yeah, I only managed to grab these ones just about. So
Oh,
yeah.
blimey.
oh, and I've been playing a few Neo Geo games. Bit
Oh,
of
cool.
Super
Oh,
20.
yeah. Didn't you hack your Neo Geo stick, arcade stick pro?
Yeah, I did. I put the high-low stick on it, and it's immense how much value that gives a thing.
Yeah. So it's
and
basically like every Neo Geo game now. On
every single one.
Nice. How many is
so
there? It's got to be a couple, hasn't it?
148. 148.
I don't know why I thought there were more than that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, just 148. But I mean, it's quite a lot to get
There's
through.
a lot of games.
Yeah,
There's some good stuff in there.
I thought there was more Neo Geo games than that too.
Yeah, at least speaking with ones that strictly were like MVS, AES era Neo Geo games, 148 of them. Yeah,
I see.
and
okay.
the person who made the hack is also working on an update to add a myriad of extra systems, includes CPS 1 and 2 and CPS 3 and
CPS 3. Wow.
Yeah, it does actually on there. Actually, you can put Third Strike on there for some reason. That's part of
just Third Strike.
Just Third Strike.
It's the only like CPS 3 game most people are going to play anyway. But
yeah, so I gave that a whirl on the stick, and it doesn't play that great, to be fair. So I think that's sort of the limit. Anything sort of in the realm of Third Strike isn't going to run particularly well on that stick.
Yeah.
But anything before then, and yeah, so you can. Yeah, and like SNES and all that is planned for it. So yeah, it looks like the versatility of that thing is ramping up.
That's nice.
Yeah. So mostly like what's that game called? The Super Idol Money Exchanger.
Money Idol Exchanger.
AKA the best Neo Geo game. Just the best game, or maybe the best video game. It's what.
I played that on PlayStation long before I knew it was a Neo Geo game.
Yeah, there was a PlayStation port.
I think the PlayStation port adds the option to play as the other characters. Because in the Neo Geo version, you can literally only play 2 of the characters, where all of the characters you play against you can't. So I think the PlayStation 1 might. Other than I hear that the loading times aren't great on PlayStation. PlayStation 1 might be the most complete version. So I'm playing that Magical Drop. A lot of puzzle games mostly. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. They're hard games, They get really hard. But
that one's tough, especially because it relies on your knowledge of how Japanese currency adds up.
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah. And
so I have to learn the coins, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, when you get to the last boss, you just get hammered in seconds. I just don't know how you can possibly score quick enough to get them off your back. But
it wouldn't be a Neo Geo game if the last boss was a pushover.
Oh, exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. I mean, I heard after I started playing that game that the company who made that game got sued because it was too much like Magical Drop.
I guess. I mean, you've got the little character at the bottom that drags the stuff down and then throws it back up. So, but I think by that logic, Compile could have gone around suing everyone that did a game where you drop things down and match colors.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. It's like
by that logic, Taito could sue the company that made that Bubble Witch game on Facebook. Because it's busted.
Bubble Witch Saga, yeah.
Yeah, Bubble Witch Saga, yeah.
Yeah,
Why it has Saga in the name, I don't know. What makes it a saga? It's a puzzle game.
I mean, I know, like, I guess aesthetically they're very similar in that, like, you have the little person and you move exactly one square and you pull a block down and you throw whatever blocks or coins you've collected up. But let's be honest, if you do that, like, essentially, platformers are a game where you run to the right and you jump over things or on things.
Yeah, it's very like outside of that little element, the actual like matching of stuff is completely different. So
exactly, it doesn't use the same formula for matching things. In fact, I would say that Money Exchanger is far more intelligent with the way it does its matching than Magical Drop is.
Yeah.
So not that I think Magical Drop is a bad game. I think it's a great game, but Money Exchanger I think is very clever.
Yeah.
In a way that Magical Drop isn't. So,
also, there's a puzzle game on the Saturn, and I think it was in arcades as well, which is basically like Money Puzzle Exchanger, but it's more like you're just dropping the stuff from the top to the bottom.
Oh,
okay. It's called like Coin Puzzle Moija or something. I think we played it on a Sega Saturn Shindig. I think it was the second one when we did puzzle games. It's basically Money Puzzle Exchanger, but with cats.
Yeah. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, it's pretty good actually. It's very similar. But I think in the case of that one, is they don't straight up have the numbers on the coins, or is it the other way around?
Well,
Trying
Money
to
Puzzle
remember.
Exchanger does.
Yeah, I think in the case of this one is.
It did.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, it's very similar, but yeah, that game's
In-
quite cool.
In Money Puzzle Exchanger, to simplify it as much as I can, you essentially have to match the coins, tie them up together in such a way that they make the next level of currency. So if you've got 10 coin pieces, the next level is 50. So you need 5 10s
Yep.
to make a 50. 2 50s will make a 100 coin piece. And then you need 5 100 coin pieces to make your 500 coin pieces. And then whenever you match 2 500s, they will pop, basically.
Yeah.
And then we'll score you based on that.
That's basically how that coin puzzle module works as well. And I think when you get 2 500s together, they turn into like a note, and then the note
that's cool.
sort of floats away or something.
Oh,
Or,
okay.
like, disappears, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I mean, the 500 is essentially when you will essentially bank whatever you've scored. But I guess it's more about the combos getting there. You know, trying to get it to like a 10 turns into a 50 that drops onto another 50 and makes 100, and maybe that 100 makes usual
so
sort
good.
of fair.
I love that
It's
game.
such a good game.
It's so
Yeah.
good. Like, I still want to get the Switch version at some point.
Yeah.
The Switch port of it, just to have a version, because I don't have the PlayStation version or anything like that.
I mean, I'm tempted to get the Switch version just so I can play it on the go. To be honest,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, I mean, so yeah, that's basically what I've been playing. I think. Yep.
Okay. I guess I will go next, because for me it's kind of short as well, because I haven't even really been playing the Switch at all lately, because I've been animating, I've been drawing a bit, been doing all kinds of other stuff, watching a bunch of weird old kung fu movies on Netflix, like Flying Guillotine and stuff like that. But when we finished that, well, I can't remember what stream it was now, but it was one of the Salt or Hypes. That day it was the 25th anniversary of the Sega Saturn launching in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So I've ended up actually playing quite a bit of Sega Saturn this week. Not on stream, but just in general. Just been sitting up here and playing quite a bit of Saturn stuff.
You make it out like that's a rare thing for you.
No, not really. I just felt the need to go back and the Saturn's been mostly the SNES and the Saturn that have been getting all the use up here lately anyway. But like I've been putting in a load of fighting games. I was playing quite a bit of Karnov's Revenge the week. What's really cool about the Saturn port, because again it's a Neo Geo game that's ported over, is they've actually put both languages on it, so you can play it as Fighters History Dynamite, or you can play it as Karnov's Revenge with the full English translation. And,
I appreciate that.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it's
pretty
also
neat.
got both the MVS soundtrack and an arranged soundtrack, which is quite
Very
nice.
Yeah,
that
probably
game's
the
super cheesy,
Neo
but I
Geo
quite like
CD
it.
soundtrack.
I just love the friggin' voice work in it. Every single character's just got ridiculous like quotes when they do attacks. Like there's a character in that game called Sanche that is basically just Sagat. He's literally Sagat. Like same moves, everything. But every time
right?
every time he throws like a fireball though, he sounds like he's going tacos. He just goes tacos. It's just like, okay, tacos.
Look at that.
Oh yeah, there's that Asian bloke that just goes, take a good look at that. It's just every single character's just got hilarious things. You know, the final boss is Karnov, and he'll just go fire all the time and turn into a balloon and all kind of weird stuff. I was also playing quite a bit of Bubble Symphony earlier, which is like one of the sequels to Bubble Bobble. That got a really nice Saturn port. I actually played that to completion earlier today. I didn't get the proper true ending because I didn't get all the keys, because there's like 4 keys you have to find throughout the levels, and I think one of them was just out of my reach, so I didn't get it. And like when you get to the final, you beat that final boss, and then like this big golden door shows up, and then like the 3 keys sort of appear, and then there's just like a gap where the one missing is, and they all just bounce off the door, and then nothing happens, and it's like the end. It's like, oh. It's like, you messed up. The end. Go away. I mean, I did get credits and stuff, so I'm happy, and some nice artwork. That game's really cool, actually. It's got loads of crossover stuff in it, so there's loads of worlds in it, kind of like how Rainbow Islands had that Darius world in it on the Mega Drive version. This straight up just has worlds based on other Taito games. So there's a Darius world which has straight up the flame background from the second game, on the background, and all the enemies and the final boss are all from that game, Darius 2, I think. There's a Kiki Kai Kai land, and the final boss is literally Pocky and Rocky. There's a Pula Rula world, which I was quite surprised by. Straight up, really strange scrolling beat 'em up they did that one time. Trying to remember what other ones are in there, but there's also like cameos from all different games at random points. There's loads of different weapons. You can get like bubbles that actually have rainbows in them, and when you pop them, the little rainbow islands, rainbows drop down just like they would in Rainbow Islands. The bosses are quite inventive as well. You get like these special abilities like the Rainbow Islands, rainbows, and lightning and tornadoes. There was straight up a boss that was just Space Invaders. It was a big Space Invaders robot, and loads of other little Space Invaders all doing their pattern, and then they all form together to make this big like Space Invader that shoots lasers down and does all these different attacks. It was really cool. Like, there are some levels, because it's a bubble game, there are some levels in that game where you just think, what were they thinking with these level designs? Like, some of them are just harsh. Like, there was literally a level where I was just like trapped in the corner, and I had to bounce off a bubble to get into another little hole in the wall. It was basically just little holes, and then there was a whole row of baddies at the top, and I had to somehow navigate my way, basically glitching through the walls to get to them. And as soon as you get up there, they just hit you, and it took me so many lives. Luckily, it's unlimited continues on the Saturn version, so I was grateful for that, because I must have gone through several hundred lives in my playthrough. But because some of the levels are just harsh, but that's bubble for you, I suppose. Other than that, I was mostly playing fighting games like Alpha 2, X-Men vs Street Fighter. I played a little bit of X-Men Children of the Atom earlier. That game's actually a little bit harder to go back to, because that was before like the RAM carts came out. So that one's, it's got quite long load times. The animation's really cut down. It reminds me of what it was like to play those games on the PlayStation a couple times.
Well, I was about to say, I only remember it on the PlayStation.
Yeah, I think the Saturn version of Children of the Atom is basically the same as the PlayStation one, but it's once the RAM card get introduced that the divide happens. I remember a friend of mine when I was a kid had the PlayStation version of, I think it was Marvel vs Street Fighter, and you couldn't even have two on a team. It was just 1-on-1, if I remember rightly, or there was no way you couldn't swap in the middle of the match.
Is that X-Men versus Street Fighter, or
I think it was Marvel versus Street Fighter, but I think it's the same with X-Men as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the animation was really choppy on the PlayStation version, because it didn't have any like extra data for like the sprites and all that. And that's what Children of the Atom on the Saturn's like, basically. I'm so used to like the RAM card, because even Marvel Superheroes, you can play that game without the RAM cart, but if you put the RAM cart in, it just basically abolishes the load times. Like, they're almost completely gone, which is nice.
It really made
Marvel Superheroes, that's one of the Saturn games that's actually noteworthy for being one of the few that still has the RAM cart code in the game. They never took it out.
Yeah, exactly. I used to have the PAL version of Marvel Superheroes, and when I got a RAM card, I put it in, and it actually like took out the load times, or sped them up, basically, which is nice. Even
because we didn't get the RAM cart here, did we?
No, it was Japan only. But
yeah, we didn't get it here either.
I've mentioned it in the past, but I'm still annoyed with the official magazine when they were like, "Oh, X-Men vs Street Fighter and the RAM cart are coming out in the UK," and they just blazingly lied. It was just like
massive oversight. That was.
Maybe they really believed it.
Yeah, maybe someone told them, it might happen, and they just saw that as it's happening, it's coming out later this year. It's like, it never happened.
I mean, Sega, I don't know about Sega of Europe, but Sega of America was making a lot of last-minute decisions during the Saturn years.
I think most of the last-minute decisions with the Saturn in the UK was just, screw the Saturn, we can't be bothered. Here's Korea Crisis, that's all you're getting. Like,
pretty much. I mean, in Sega of America, that's when Tom Kalinske left, almost a year after the Saturn launched, and then Bernie Stolar stepped in, and he made a whole bunch of changes, while at the same time he was one of the figureheads that kickstarted the development of the Dreamcast and how it wound up becoming.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically all I've been playing this week. I haven't actually played any. I haven't even played Asphalt 9 this week, which is shocking.
Oh.
I just haven't got around to
That
it.
is shocking.
It didn't.
You went and got
happen.
your Joy-Cons fixed and everything.
Yeah, I got them fixed, and now I've mostly been using my Switch for YouTube this week. I think that's where a majority of my Switch time actually goes. It's just using it to watch YouTube.
I should check. See how embarrassing it is.
I use it for you. I've been using it for YouTube a lot too, ever since my Android tablet finally died in January.
I can't even find the YouTube app on here. I can't find out where you download it.
I think
Yeah,
I think you just search it and it pops up.
If you
Yeah,
search
you
Google,
just search up YouTube. It's in there.
Mhm.
It's in the eShop.
You have played YouTube for 645 hours.
That's over the course of I
600
think it launched January last year, so that'll be that many hours within, I guess, a year and a half.
That's approximately 5 times more than you've played Asphalt 9.
Yeah, I mean it's YouTube.
Yeah.
I've not played a single thing on Switch for 600 hours yet.
Yeah, no, me neither.
I don't think
but-
every game I've played combined adds up to 600 hours yet.
Saying that, Hunk Thunder basically almost has your YouTube hours caught up just in Animal Crossing. So
Yep.
Yeah.
you know it.
540 hours.
That's not as bad as some of my friends, though. They're in 4 digits.
Yeah, I have seen over 1,000 hours in a couple
Mhm.
cases, and you got to think that game's only been out a few months now.
Yeah. Oh.
Anyway, that's what I've been
Yeah.
playing. Saturn games
Okay.
mostly.
Well,
Always a
since
nice
I've been
game for Saturn.
since I've been outed already for my Animal Crossing antics,
Sorry.
yeah, I might as well go now. And yes, I have actually been playing every day this week. Still getting to grips with the diving and swimming around in the game.
Oh
'cause
yeah.
there's a lot more, what do they call them? Sea creatures as opposed to fish.
Mhm.
Because fish and sea creatures are 2 completely different things.
Hmm.
So I'm still catching them.
Maybe if they called them fish, like there'd be like some anthropomorphic fish that lives on the island that gets offended. So they're like, oh,
Yeah.
we're sea creatures.
Exactly. I haven't played a lot else, actually. I mean, I'm waiting for the SNES update. Well, I say SNES. It's 2
Yeah.
SNES games and the Immortal for NES tomorrow.
Oh, is that tomorrow?
Yeah, that's
Oh, is it
tomorrow.
tomorrow? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
15th.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
I believe
didn't realise
it's,
it was that soon.
yeah, I believe it's Donkey Kong Country and
Yep.
Natsume World Championship Wrestling.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
for NES, the Immortal.
Of
right?
all
So-
things.
So 1 out of those 3 games is pretty good.
Yeah. So that's funny because I remember the Angry Video Game Nerd just made a video on the Immortal last Halloween, actually, and that was one of his best videos in a long time. If you
Which version
you
did
ever
he
seen it?
play? Because I didn't even
He
know
played
there
the-
was a NES version until they announced this.
Yeah, he played the NES version, but he also briefly talked about the Genesis version.
I was
that's,
gonna
that's
say-
the only version I've played.
Yeah,
Oh,
and he did. He complained a lot about the NES version. He did say the Genesis version's better. He especially highlighted how gory the Genesis version actually is,
Ooh, yeah.
which I thought was surprising.
Yeah. I think that's one of the games that I think, and Mariko, you might be able to sort of quote me on that, I don't know, but it was a game that he played a lot when he was younger, was the Immortal.
I think he did say that.
Yeah, I barely ever played it myself because I never really got on with it when I was younger. But
Usually when it comes to games featured on AVGN, James Rolfe usually he usually talks about games where he did actually like play them when he was a kid, or like where he rented them, because or like he would often be in situations where he could only rent a game a weekend, and if he happened to pick the wrong game to rent, then his weekend is wasted. And so,
That's how
like,
it was when you were younger.
and so, like, that's one of the reasons he did Angry Video Game Nerd, was that it was a form of catharsis for him, sort of.
Yeah. Oh, I know that pain too well.
Yeah.
I only have limited things to play. Yeah.
Or,
But
That's how it
seriously,
was back
though,
then. Now we have too many games.
or rather, having the being able to rent, but the games turn out to be like trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been in that
Well, I'm stuck
situation.
with this for 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My parents didn't even like rental stores back then, so we couldn't rent any games. We just bought everything.
When I was younger, there used to be a guy who would come to the house, and they would they'd have like a box full of Mega Drive games, and they would rent it to you at your doorstep, and then they would come back later.
I used to have a guy that did that for me back in the Dreamcast days.
Oh, nice! As
Yeah.
late as that, people were still doing it. Wow.
Yeah. He'd
Wow.
just come round. He'd have like 3 games in a box, and I'd just pick one.
Oh, this guy had
That's cool.
this guy had maybe like 20 games, and
nice.
he would like, because some other people would have certain games that'd always be circulating and be something a little bit different in there every other week.
Oh, nice.
So it was kind of neat. So I got to play a lot of games like Hang On and stuff, and
cool.
Castle of Illusion and all that way as a kid.
Nice.
Yeah, it was cool way to do things. I mean, rentals when I was like in the PlayStation era, it was mostly me just trying to look at boxes and figure out which one was going to be an RPG. Which, to be fair, was probably not the best move for a rental, to rent an RPG, but there you go.
Well, Sega Channel had a bunch of RPGs. They always had like 2 of the Phantasy Star games every month.
Did you have Sega Channel at any point, or? I don't know, I suppose.
I'd never even heard of Sega Channel back then.
Ah, fair
Not
enough.
that
I think most
although
people didn't.
I only had a Nomad, which it probably wouldn't have worked so well with that anyways.
That's true. I'm not even sure if that would have been compatible.
No, I don't expect so.
The closest thing I ever did to renting a game back then was when we stayed in a hotel once on a vacation. It happened to be a hotel where they had this service where you could rent like Super Nintendo games to for pay-per-view to play on the TV in your room.
That's quite cool.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so my parents actually paid for us to play the Super Nintendo version of Final Fight.
Oh, cool.
It's nice. Shame it's Super Nintendo game, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I never even heard of Final Fight up until then, so I thought it was cool though.
So was it mostly just Animal Crossing this week?
Pretty much. I have played some GTA Online with some friends, and there's something else which is I'm trying to think, but it's not going to me.
Is it something that you have been streaming because you played that Devolver Digital?
Oh,
yes. Yeah, that was it.
Oh, yeah, I still haven't got around to actually trying that yet. What was it like?
It's interesting.
I watched a little bit of you streaming it.
Yeah, that was a nightmare. Basically, straight away out of the, I wouldn't say out of the box because it's a download, but set all my settings to 4K epic.
Oh.
So literally everything is like detailed and everything, and my PC just wasn't having any of it.
Just melted.
So I literally had to go down to 720p and low settings, just so I can actually stream it and play at the same time.
Yeah, that's the issue I've had with PC games. Whenever I did, like, say, the itch.io streams, like some of the games, like I was streaming and playing the game at the same time, and a lot of those games did not have any graphic settings, and they would just go, right, it's just beautiful settings, done, and my computer would just be melting as I'm doing it. It's just like, oh, please don't turn off, please don't turn off.
That's pretty much how I felt the other night. But coming from when I've worked at gaming events for the last 15 years now, it does actually look like an actual convention hall when it's closed, which was quite spooky for me because I know what it looks like when like EGX is closed and there's no one around, but everything is all switched on and ready to go.
From what I
But-
could see, it looked like it was based on E3, like the outside of it straight up looked like the building from E3.
Yeah, I think it's the same people who made Shadow Warriors 3. So basically, it's their
It looked like it was running in that engine, yeah.
yeah. So they, excuse me, they obviously had all the layout of the floors and everything. They had these robots which were security guards, and if you get caught, then obviously you get chucked out or chucked to the nearest checkpoint. And yeah, I couldn't find all the hidden bits and pieces, but there's 3 hidden games in the Devolverland Expo game.
Oh, there's actual
But,
mini games.
Probably, from what I understand, they are not playable demos, but video demos, of which weren't announced in Devolver's Direct the other day.
Oh, I see. So there was more than the ones that they mentioned on that event.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, it is a sneaky way of recapping their Direct they had the other night, but I just couldn't find everything.
Doing it in a playable fashion. You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of the old days of the Sonic Fangame HQ expos, like the Sonic Fangames Expo. A couple times they did actually do it as a game that you could play, and it would actually connect to the internet and stuff like that. And I still remember, I think I actually had a booth on one of those, if I remember rightly, like a Manga Gaga Games booth. And like it was sort of like done in sort of like an RPG Maker sort of style, where you had like a little OC Sonic character walking around and all the booths were there, and I basically just submitted a little JPEG that they would use for my booth, and then you'd click on it and then you'd walk up to it and it would tell you about the games I was presenting. It was really cool.
Yeah, that is pretty much exactly how it was.
Yeah, it's just like a more elaborate version of that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's me for this week.
That's a cool way of showing off their games, though. Like a cool way of showing off what they've got coming out.
I mean, it's probably better than their actual thing. So
yeah, like they were building up to it the whole time in that stream. So that's what they've been busy.
Not bad for free, I guess.
Yeah, fun little thing to mess around with.
Yeah, it was quite a chunky game because it came in at like 8 gigabytes. So
yeah, I'll probably give that a go still.
Just make sure you turn your settings right down. Otherwise, it's just going to be.
It's just 4K by default.
Yeah.
That's strange. Usually they put it somewhere in the middle, don't they?
Yeah.
All right. So I guess I'll go next if you're done now.
Yep.
I got back into playing Phantasy Star Online 2. So I'm back in the saddle. We got a couple more events going on in the game to get people to get the most out of the game. Right now, there's a clear story quests event going on, so I've been just powering through the story quests, since most of them you're just listening to characters talk for like 2 minutes anyways, and then occasionally you get into one where you actually have to go through a level or you have to fight a boss. But the way this works is, right now there's 3 episodes available to Western players. And after you get through a certain chapter in episode 3, if you manage to beat it or have already beaten it by the time the event starts, you get a mag evolution device that turns your mag into a Sega Dreamcast.
Cool.
And this is the same mag device that you would get if you played the game during the Xbox One closed beta. So yeah, for now I'm still on episode 1, so I have to get through this episode 3 chapter before maintenance period on August 4th in order to get the Dreamcast thing.
It reminds me of the original PSO in that way, where they had the mags that were Master Systems and Dreamcast and Mega Drives and all that.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they did have that back then. I've seen a bunch of interesting mags from other players in the game. One person had a mag that looked like Carbuncle from Puyo Puyo.
Yeah,
Another person had a Sonic the Hedgehog mag. Someone else had a Hatsune Miku mag.
Is that Opa Opa in it? Because I remember he was in the original game.
Yeah, actually, there is an
Nice.
Opa Opa mag. There's a shop where you exchange these items called Raggle Memories, which give you some stuff from the classic Phantasy Star Online. So that's where you can buy the old costumes. You can get old posters, some old music discs, some old mag evolution devices. But but right now I don't know any way to get Raggle Memories other than just buying the Raggle Memories pack, which costs real money.
I've always wondered like what the lore is with Phantasy Star Online versus the original games, because it seems eerily similar, the terminology, because they call it Raggle instead of the Algol star system.
Oh,
and I wonder if it's like a re-envision of the same universe or whether it's supposed to be.
I think that's what it always has been. Just like it's not tied in directly to the original games, but it's loosely the same.
Because you've got Dark Falls instead of Dark Force and all that.
Yeah, well, it's funny you bring that up because that's another thing I got to talk about. Since I've been going story quests, I've been getting a little more into the story. The way it's told in the game is really awkward, of course, because it's all just listening to characters talk about stuff, and then as you listen, you piece some things together. So, first of all, when you play this game, I do recommend that you go through the story quests, not just for the sake of the story, but also in case they do a story event like this in Europe as well. And also because when you get through each chapter in an episode, you get free star gems. And eventually you'll be able to spend those on some nice cosmetic items.
Nice.
But the other reason is because the story quests will help fill you in on some of the important in-universe stuff that you might need to know about, like stuff like it'll have stuff explained to you like what is ARCS, that's the organization all the players work for. Where do things like where do their powers come from? What is this thing? What are these creatures? Who are the top 3 heroes of ARCS? Why are they a big deal? Oh, it's because they sealed away Dark Falls 40 years before. And then I realized when I played through this also, the bosses that you fight in the story mode are actually some of the same bosses that you fight during urgent quests. So I fought a bunch of these bosses already during the urgent quests whenever they came up. And it turns out they're a lot harder and more exciting when you don't have a bunch of random players fighting alongside you. Many of which are probably way overpowered.
So I'm guessing when they talk about the fact that there was heroes who defeated Dark Falls 40 years ago, I'm assuming they're talking about PSO1.
I'm not entirely sure, but in this universe, I'll put it like this: I forget the exact name of the group of heroes, but there's 6 top ARCS characters, and 3 of them actually they couldn't defeat Dark Falls. Dark Falls cannot be killed. They had to seal him away. And because they were powerful enough to do that, they're essentially the big 3. And you do meet these big 3 during the course of the story mode. And then that's when and also during the story mode, there's another character, and you'll immediately know who this is because he's a colossal dick who just beats people up for no reason and bullies his own partner. This guy decides, I'm going to go to the planet where Dark Falls is sealed, and I'm going to free him so I can kill the unkillable Dark Falls. Nothing could possibly go wrong.
It sounds
so I'm guessing that's
Dragon Ball.
Yeah. So I mean, it seems like it has tonally a lot of the things that are in like the original PSO as well as the original game, where Dark Force couldn't be killed and it can really be sealed away. Dark Force kind of just a servant, really, if anything.
Pretty much, yeah. And And just like the original game, Dark Falls, in this game, he pretty much possesses certain people to do his bidding. In PSO2, he possesses a bunch of different characters who are going to become big time bosses, including the one dickhead who decided to unseal Dark Falls.
Yeah, so it's hopefully one day we'll get to play that game. Who knows at this point?
Well, they did announce that they're going to open it up to Europe later this year, so probably around winter time, I guess. And by then they'll have caught the game up to all but one of the episodes that are currently available in Japan.
Yeah.
I'll give it a go as long as I can play the PC version.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Same here. Yeah, I wouldn't mind giving it a go once it's available, like easily without having to jump through hoops.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we'll stream it.
Yeah.
And either way, I'm just glad this game is finally available because I'm having so much fun with it. You have no idea. And I've also been playing more Rocket League on Switch, actually. So Rocket League has also been having an event recently. They just celebrated the game's 5th anniversary. So they made up
yeah.
So they had a new limited time mode available, which I forget the name of, but it's a 2-on-2 mode where once one team hits the ball, it just beelines straight to the goal, and you have to hit it in order to send it straight back. It's sort of like Pong, rebuilt for like Rocket League, essentially. You can still play the other modes, of course, but when you play any mode, you get a bunch of points that you can spend on some anniversary items that you can only get for a limited time. Yeah.
How's the performance on Switch?
It's pretty good, actually. On Switch, there's 2 performance modes. There's quality and performance. I always have it on performance mode, especially on handheld mode, because the game runs in 60 frames per second when you do that.
Oh, good.
That's always going to be my preference of games that have the option.
Yeah, and I don't even notice too much of a graphical quality increase when you set it to quality mode, anyways.
Yeah.
So you might as well just leave it on performance if you play the Switch version. The game runs great.
It's pretty hectic, that game, so you probably wouldn't notice any of the specific quality increases, to be honest.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you don't notice too much. And the games does still hand out a lot of really cool items to equip your cars with all the time. So like when I turned on the game again, the last time I did it, I got a bunch of Rick and Morty and Beat Saber items out of nowhere, and I don't even know what that was all about. And then when I turned it on again for this event, I discovered I at some point got a Fallout Vault Boy topper for my cars.
I'm glad.
A bunch of Worms WMD items as well.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm glad that that's carried over between versions, because it's one of those things that I worry about when you get like a crossover item in one version that's not going to be in the other. You know, so
yeah,
they're bringing up.
There's a few things like that. Like the Nintendo Switch version has a Mario car and a Metroid car, which I don't even know if you can see when other people equip those items if you play it on a different system, because the game does also have crossplay.
That's a good point. Yeah, because I was thinking that because like Darius Burst EX is coming to Switch in that new collection that's coming out with Darius G, and that has a lot of crossover DLC on PC.
Some amazing DLC. It's got all them Sega ones.
Yeah.
It's got Space Harrier and
and there's a lot of like obscure shmups and stuff that are in it.
DLC.
And I'm just
I have that game on PS4, and I got some of the DLC. There was a neat little Capcom pack too. It had like a Pro Gear,
Pro Gear,
Pro Gear, sidearms.
I think even Polestar's in it. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I really hope that those carry over to the Switch version when because that game looks great, and I know there's only 2 games on this 3D collection, but I'm gonna buy it. So
Darius Burst is amazing. It's
yeah,
probably my favourite Darius game. There's just so much to do in it. There's so
Well,
many
I've heard-
like, modes where you can just grind away and slowly unlock stuff. And
well, I also hear that G Darius is really good as well. So
G Darius is very good too. Yeah.
yeah,
I've
so
only played that on emulator, but that is very good.
It is a very interesting series. Of course, I've never played games other than like Darius Burst and the Mega Drive Darius on the Genesis Mini.
oh
I would
yeah, I mean
recommend Darius Gaiden to
oh,
Jarl.
and,
That's my favourite one.
And,
that's a lot of people's favorite.
And Super Darius on the TurboGrafx 16 Mini. Almost forgot about that one.
Yeah, that's essentially a faster version of the Mega Drive game, essentially.
Yeah. Hence
You know,
the
I
Super,
guess.
I guess.
Yeah,
Plus the way the music loops is different because it's CD audio. Even though it is
they did
still
release a
the
Who
exact
card
music
version
from the
though.
arcade.
Hmm.
Yeah, there was a Hue card version. This is not that. This is
No,
the
it's
CD
not.
game.
No, I put a bit of time into the PC Engine mini game. I'm interested, like I say, to tangent onto Darius some more, but like I'm interested to see when that collection comes out how much easier the arcade version is going to be with the extra aspect ratio, because those games are not easy to play in 4x3 because I feel like the patterns have not changed.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
know what you mean.
and they're like
They
literally
come at you so quickly.
yeah, they're firing these enemies out of a cannon at you, and you just literally, I've fired at them from the second they hit the screen, and sometimes I feel like my bullets literally cannot kill them before they reach me,
Yeah.
even though I'm literally putting all my fire down range on them, and I just feel like I'm supposed to have the extra distance so I can move back slowly while shooting them, and I just don't have the option. I didn't even know this, but I know it has 3 screens, Darius, but
Yes.
oddly, it's on like a mirror.
Yeah.
Like 2 of the screens are like mirrored to the top, and I don't know why they did that and not just put 3 screens next to each other, but that's what they did.
The
I don't know why they
Sega
did that.
Saturn version of Darius 2, it actually has the full the full ultra widescreen setup. And
Yeah.
you can press the shoulder buttons to zoom it in and out. But the problem is, when it's zoomed all the way out, it's really pixelated. So you've either got the whole ratio, the whole screen, but it looks all kind of scrambled, or you can zoom it in and get crystal clear pixels, but then you can't see what's coming.
And you can get
So
killed.
you sort of go back and forth trying to find what's best. I sort of put it sort of halfway because it looks clear enough that I can still sort of make out what's going on. But it's the way it scales the graphics is a little bit dodgy, so like it's not quite perfect either way.
It's going to make me. I'm a bit concerned about playing the original Darius games on my Switch in handheld mode because I played some the original Ninja Warriors, the Arcade Archives version, and it's definitely squeezed. You know,
what they need to do is make a flip grip. But the difference with this one is it attaches 3 switches together. 3 switch screens together, and then you put the Joy-Cons in the side, and then you have the game, like a free version of the game that you can transfer so it plays each screen. And then you just have a full ultra-wide screen game of Darius in your hands.
that would be luxury.
That would actually be legitimately cool. And that reminds me, I gotta play that Ninja Warriors Return of the Warriors game on Switch because I have it and I've never fired it up yet.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's very hard though.
It's very hard, yeah. But to be honest, it seems any of those, like, is it Natsume?
Yeah,
Natsume.
That's amazing. That one,
that those Natsume games like that and Wild Guns are just ridiculously difficult, but they're great. So I would play both of those.
I need to play the Wild Guns Reloaded again too, because I'm actually having an easier time with the Super Nintendo game lately.
It is
I
easier.
started playing it on the Switch.
Somehow
that's easier.
I don't know. I think I'm just learning the game better and just figuring out how to play. I think that's really all it is.
Definitely found it easier in co-op when I was playing it with Hunk Thunder on this NES app.
Anyway, I'm also still playing Metopia. I forgot to talk about that game last week.
Oh no!
But, yeah, I'll just tell.
You didn't tell us what random meme characters showed up.
Well, there's actually 2 villagers from the desert town I was in before that I forgot to talk about. Also, there's a guy and his daughter. The guy who pretends to be sick, so the daughter tries to sell you an overpriced item in order to pay for his medicine, and in my case, the daughter ended up being Aqua from Konosuba, which is an anime,
Mm,
and the father was Soldier 76 from Overwatch.
as you do.
There you go.
Yeah.
We have our Metopia update. That's who was
So-
in it.
No, there was more. I
Of
got
course
through
there
the
was.
desert. I got through the desert and I made it to the third town, which is a fairy forest town. And there's a girl who cowers in her house that ended up being Princess Peach. There's a girl who practices magic techniques that ended up being Toon Zelda. As in Zelda from like Wind Waker or Phantom Hourglass, those
So
games.
a me that specifically tries to look like the Wind Waker version, rather than just a me that vaguely looks like Zelda.
That's just someone just going the extra mile.
Just going the extra mile.
And then it gets crazier from here. So there's also a green-eyed girl. It specifically calls her the green-eyed girl. That ended up being Leafeon, the Pokemon,
Oh, okay.
which is a nice
So I
coincidental
want
choice.
you to. I'm hoping you're going to come up with one of these and go, there was this villager who sells fish, and he was played by James Pond. I'm waiting for something
James
like that.
Pond.
Yeah.
You might be getting your hopes up.
Yeah, I'm getting my hopes up that someone's actually not just going to pick a really obvious thing that everyone knows.
It's bound to happen. I've seen some pretty crazy me's. Speaking of, in this fairy village, there's 3 all-powerful fairies who fought back the Dark Lord. They protect the village, and they have they have a fan club with 3 guys in it. One of these guys is Marshmallow, the EDM
Oh
producer.
God.
Yeah, the guy who wears the weird marshmallow mask.
Yeah, and the one Churchy's got the absolute ump about. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay,
someone
then.
someone recreated Marshmallow's mask.
Right.
Yeah.
I
I know what you mean.
Sure.
The second fanboy is Shaggy from Scooby Doo.
Is it Ultra Instinct Shaggy?
Yes, is it?
No, it's just Shaggy. He's just got big round
Waste
hair.
of time.
And then the last one you thought would be Goku from Dragon Ball Z, but it was Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Alright.
So yes, it's very memey then. This game then.
Well, the people that submit me's over the internet are certainly me. You only have to
Yes.
look at the Smash Brothers Ultimate community section with all the videos and stuff to see that.
Yeah,
Everything is sans, just everything. Sans
just have
levels,
this-
sans me's in videos.
yeah. You just
sans.
sift through all the Sans and Cupheads and Vault Boys,
Mm.
and then you'll find a lot of memes.
Yeah.
And then there's also a guy who sleeps all day, which ended up being Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty. And
Are we done? Are we done going,
Yeah.
who's this random person? It is played by random person.
yeah, I think that's it. Oh wait, no. There's one.
Oh, is that not
There's
all
one
of
other
them?
guy.
That's not all.
Wait, there's more.
There's another guy who shows up from time to time and takes photos of your party during battles, and then
Mr.
sells you the
Pickles.
photos.
Was it Big
Pickles?
Chungus?
Big Chungus. Yes, it was Big Chungus. No.
Was it Fred
Uh,
Flintstone or specifically Grandad?
Damn.
Flintstones.
Was it just the Star Wars guy? Because we're getting really desperate with ancient.
We're getting really old school.
Oh dear.
Okay.
What have we done?
We broke Elk by naming random memes.
Okay, give me a sec. All right. No, it's actually just Link from Legend of Zelda.
Oh well, that was.
That was anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what,
Yeah, like the ending to the Meat Game Flood. That's very anticlimactic.
You did it to yourselves.
So has that been what you've been playing, Ilk?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Okay, cool.
I'm glad we got our weekly Metopia update. I know you missed it last week, but I'm glad we got it this week.
We made up for lost time. Right, so I think it's just Cherry Terrier now, is it?
I
Yep.
think so.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't been an awful lot. It's just usually it's the same old Mario Picross. I made a little bit more progress in Pokemon Diamond,
Oh,
and I also just keep hopping back and forth between 6 different Pokemon games. Played a little bit of Rayman Redemption, but I've been playing Pokemon Go an awful lot more than usual because of the Go Fest challenge.
Oh, they added Team Rocket, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Oh, Pokemon Masters, right?
No, in Pokemon
Go.
Go.
Oh, Pokemon Go. Sorry.
Yeah.
But actually,
Yeah.
Team Rocket was added to Pokemon Masters recently. Actually,
So it might just be a dual thing.
Oh, maybe.
But James looks really weird in that Pokemon Go style.
Yeah, you used to see Team Rocket appearing in it, and it's like, because the Pokemon Go, like, all the human characters are kind of sort of realistic looking, but then with Team Rocket, they were like, oh, we need to make them look like they look in the anime, but also kind of like they would fit in Go, so it's somewhere in between.
Yeah.
And it's really weird.
a bit
They
of
just
a
got like weird dead eyes. It looks like a realistic
Noses,
human.
man.
It looks like they've just painted anime eyes onto a realistic person.
Yeah. Or like,
It's
you
very
know,
strange.
or someone having like weird makeup on.
Yeah, it's just like when people like they close their eyes and then they put makeup over to make it look like they've got like anime eyes or something. It just looks like that.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange.
And I'm having a hard time with this week's Go Fest challenges. Like basically, there's like hot air balloons. Jesse and James, I don't have any trouble, but Giovanni, oh god.
I mean, I guess that's accurate, isn't it? Team Rocket are pretty useless in general, but Giovanni's supposed to be.
So I'm guessing he uses all ground types.
Sometimes ground types, but his Persian's just gotten really jacked up. Like it's
Oh god,
I don't know. It's as if it's packed in a whole entire stock of Holland & Barrett's worth of protein like shakes or whatever.
Just raided Holland and Barrett before the battle.
It's just really jacked
Stole
up.
them from Andy Murray.
Yeah. I'm having trouble with it, and I would really like to know what happens if you fail these challenges, because I think it might
They
actually
steal
be.
all your Pokemon.
It might actually be the first time I failed in a free event. If you know what I mean.
Team Rocket are just going to steal everything. You'll just be
Yeah.
left with
Yes.
nothing.
Yeah.
Let's steal money out of your bank account.
Yeah.
Team Rocket's gonna have like a bomb that just ends up going off right after they beat you. So then they just fly away, and
Or at least Giovanni would anyway. No, he's just gonna sick the armored Mewtwo at me.
Yes. Does he have
Yeah.
that?
that's what
Is that
Giovanni's
Ingo?
It had
Armoured
been a while back. I
Mewtwo.
gave Andrew my one, didn't I?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. I love Armored Mewtwo.
Yeah,
he-
finished with my.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he was like a raid event for a short while. I managed to get
Ah.
one, and but I ended up getting another Mewtwo through a research challenge anyway. So
Didn't they also do a thing recently where it's like, oh, Pikachu's in the game again with balloons?
yeah,
Oh,
Yep.
Balloon Pikachu.
It's like,
There'll be surfing one next.
it's
yeah, probably.
yeah. I believe it's the Pikachu that's supposed to learn like fly.
It's Pikachu with a new hat. It's just Malibu Stacy, but with Pikachu.
Yeah, it's got. Hang on. Yeah, and some of the starters have got like party hats on now because
Ah, the
it's
party
the
hats.
it's the 4th anniversary like this month.
Ah.
So,
I want to. I've wanted to sort of make a point of actually going and buying some of the Pokemon side games that have come out over the years that I've just never got to play.
Oh,
I played some of them. Like I say, I like Pokemon Conquest and all that, but as a lot of games like Pokemon Ranger and stuff, I hear is quite good.
Pokemon Pinball is fantastic.
Oh, I love Pokemon Pinball. Yeah,
It's such a good pinball game.
The pinball games on the Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance are pretty cool.
Yeah, they're the ones I'm talking about. They're great.
And I sure can't wait for new Pokemon Snap.
Yeah.
I actually quite liked Pokken Tournament as well. I thought that was quite fun.
I haven't played that. I would like
it's
to.
alright actually. Like it takes a little bit getting used to, like the whole like phasing between fighting in 3D and then fighting in 2D. But yeah, I did have a copy of it, but I ended up selling it just because it was worth quite good money. I just thought, well, I'll buy it again later down the line, I guess, because I wasn't really playing loads of it, but I did enjoy what little I did. A couple hours of it I did play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been sort of keeping my eye on. I think it's the first Pokemon Ranger.
Oh yeah.
I have, because it's something to do with getting a particular egg if you beat the game. The Manaphy egg.
Okay.
Yeah, that's.
I remember what you're talking about. Yeah.
But yeah, that's like something you can fiddle about with DNSs to look at. Apparently, down the line.
Yeah, you did quite a bit of that a while back, didn't you?
Oh
when
yeah,
you were fiddling about with
and
DNS servers so you could get older fence stuff.
Yeah, the good news is that they fixed the one for Diamond and Pearl.
Oh
but
yeah.
They updated it so it actually works on there now. But the bad news is that like the different gifts are in like some kind of loop depending on what day it is, and the only way to get everything at once is just to keep turning the clock back, I suppose.
Just time traveling like Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really it for what I've been playing this week.
I think the only time I've ever done time traveling in video games was Nights into Dreams and Seaman.
Oh yeah.
It's the only way to get through Seaman quickly is to just keep changing the day. Like after like playing it for about 20 minutes, you just put the day. That's how we did our Let's Play of it. We basically just turned the game off, went back into the BIOS, changed it, made it one day later, and then played it again.
Yeah.
I think I did that in Dragon Quest IX a couple times because you have like a random shop in the main town that sells you select items, but some of them are ones that are either ridiculously hard to get otherwise or just impossible to get otherwise. Like there's stuff you get given on your birthday, for example, so I just fiddle with the clock and then you get the birthday item. But yeah, that's about it really.
Right, so I guess that's what we've been playing. I guess we shall move on to the news. Bing bong, bing bong. Right, so a sealed copy of Mario Brothers has now become the most expensive... Super Mario Brothers on the NES has become the most expensive video game ever sold on a public auction. So it's sold on eBay for $114,000. So that's about £90,000. It was still wrapped in its original seal from 1985, and it had its all-important hang tag, I guess. Like it was literally like you would have got it out of a shop back then, in like a case and like the security thing on the top of it and all that kind of stuff.
That's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
You could honestly, right? You could buy a not so great quality house in like Nottinghamshire for that money.
Yeah.
You could get a pretty, slightly below average house here for that money.
You could put a lot towards a damn good mortgage for that, at least.
Yeah, definitely.
But
I'm just curious how, what happens with these kind of auctions when the person gets it. Do they just put it in like a big glass cabinet? Do they do like what they have in when you watch programs and there's going to be like a big heist, but at first they go to this like millionaire's mansion and they've just got this big glass cabinet with all lasers around it. And they go, "Oh, this is my precious jewel. No one's going to be able to steal this." Do they put it in one of those?
Yeah.
I paid $114,000 for this NES game.
I suspect the guy has bought it specifically with the notion of selling it on.
More than
As in-
likely, just to flip it for even more money. Yeah.
Yeah, as an investment, I expect.
That's
Yeah.
usually what happens when people get these games rated. I forget
Yeah, I
the name
mean-
of the rating company that
No.
looked at this Super Mario game.
Not to like say not to be critical, but like if you're someone spending that kind of money on Super Mario Brothers, which it's not even like you're buying it because it's a hard game to obtain and play. It's literally available
Well,
probably
that's
more
the thing. They don't
commonly
even
than any other game on
intend
the
to play it. It's
planet.
just they don't. This isn't
Play
being
it.
bought to play it. It's being bought to.
You'd
Look
have
at
to
and
be
go,
a-
oh, look, it's new. Look how
it's-
new it is.
It's in.
Look how
You'd have to be a-
untainted it is.
Yeah,
I-
lovely juicy sealed.
Yeah, lovely juicy
As strange as it sounds at first to pay that much for a game like Super Mario Brothers, in this case with it sealed the way it is, you'd have to be a big time idiot to spend that much on this game to actually open it and
Oh,
play
of
it up.
course.
And
That's a
play
whole
it.
other level of
I don't
stupidity.
know. I would get
Yeah,
some
that'd be like-
catharsis out of
Yeah.
watching someone do that. Like, just get
Just
this and
stream
just
it.
rip it
This is-
open.
I know, but like it's like in Futurama when Fry got the last can of anchovies when
Oh,
anchovies
yeah,
had been
yeah.
extinct for centuries. And he had to pay a ton of money that he gathered up in interest over the centuries he was in cryogenic sleep. And then he didn't realize that like he could make cheap oil for robots and make a huge killing off of that. He just wanted to make an anchovy pizza for his friends to try. And they didn't even like it in the end.
I mean, there's an Oddworld game like all about that kind of thing where it's the last can of whatever this thing is, tin of
Yeah.
whatever, and it's like a whole game is you trying to get it.
Mm.
I don't know, like I don't know where we all weigh in on this, but like for me, games, I only care about game value in as much as it enables it to get into my hands so I can play it.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Yeah,
I
I'm also
get-
that way as well.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the idea of having, so I've got a fair few rare RPGs myself, but I'd rather they weren't rare, you know?
Yeah, I would prefer that with most games. Like, there are so many games I'd love to own on like the Saturn and the Mega Drive. It's just like, if someone re-releases them, I will buy the re-release.
Yeah, so I have Suikoden too. That's fairly rare. I wish it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If someone re-released Battlemania 2 and the first one, actually, I would happily buy a repro.
Yeah.
If
I
it's
mean,
as good as the original.
I mean, that's why I bought those Retrobit multi cartridges from a few years ago.
Oh,
Like that Joe and Mac one. It has Joe and Mac 2 Lost in the Tropics on it. That game alone is worth hundreds of dollars.
They got R-Type 3
Try
on
to
there
get
as
the
well, haven't they?
original, yeah. There's also the R-Type one. I don't have that one, but yeah, both of those R-Type games are pretty expensive as well if you try to get the original copies.
I mean, I totally get wanting to play on the original hardware. That's a completely different discussion. That's like I say, that's an authentic thing, you know. But I also don't care if I use an EverDrive or whatever.
Yeah.
As long as I'm playing it with the official controller on official
Yeah.
hardware on a CRT TV, everything else is set dressing. I don't care that it's the official Sega cartridge or the official Nintendo cartridge so much. As long as it's
So
exactly.
apparently the previous record before this one came along was a sealed copy of Mega Man for the NES from 1987, which sold for $75,000.
okay.
So
NTSA.
yeah, that's quite a smash. Yeah, that's quite a smash of a record, going from 75,000 to 114,000.
I don't remember hearing about this Mega Man game last year.
Yeah, apparently it happened sometime.
Like I thought there were other games that sold at auctions for a lot more money
I
than
think-
this.
Well, this
but
is
apparently
public
something.
I think this
shouldn't
is
have
like
auction.
eBay as opposed to like like a closed auction in like a proper.
Oh, yeah,
professional
maybe
setting,
that's
I
it.
suppose. Yeah,
You know, where
I think
they're,
that's what it is.
maybe
you know,
that's
where they're
it.
on phones.
This
and-
was sold in heritage auctions, so I'm sure that's a very different thing from eBay.
Ah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I've actually not even heard of heritage auctions until this story came up.
For comparison, the world's only known Nintendo PlayStation was recently sold for $360,000.
Yep. I've seen that guy on
When you think
Instagram.
about it, that's only roughly double what this sealed copy of Mario went for.
Yeah.
And that
That's
is
like-
literally the only one on the planet.
And that Nintendo PlayStation was supposed to sell for a lot more than that.
Yeah, the person that had it was expecting millions and actually turned down an offer that was like close to $1 million, and then ended up getting nowhere near that.
Yeah, but on the bright side, the guy who ended up buying it, he is going to put it in a museum where it belongs.
Oh, that's
He
good.
has actually played it as well, though, which is kind of interesting. There's videos
That's
of him
true,
on
yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah. He even took it to Ben Heck to have it like opened up and looked at, if I remember rightly.
Yes,
So that
I appreciate
looked
that.
around inside it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
super
he did look
appreciate
at that. He did look at that. He also fixed a construction issue with that Sega Pluto thing recently.
Yes, I saw that as well, and like how when they opened it up, they just kind of showed how kind of cobbled together that system was. How clearly it was a prototype that was just flung together as a see if this idea works or not thing. And you could tell the way how crudely it was glued together inside. It was pretty obvious. It was probably not intended to be an actual. It definitely wasn't like a retail unit or anything like that, because it was clearly just kind of cobbled together.
I'm pretty sure that thing was like put together just enough so that it would be able to actually play games. Because for like testing purposes, and then if they go together, if they go through with construction, they're gonna make it a little more solid for mass production.
I find it very interesting that the Nintendo PlayStation was built in such a way that it actually functioned as a PlayStation. Because it fit.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things where obviously we know the story. They were originally going to work together, then it fell through, and then they went on to make their own PlayStation. And it's like they literally copy pasted the architecture. That's kind of like the implication.
I thought when they tried it out, the SNES cartridge slot worked as a base Super Famicom, but I don't think the disc drive did much of anything. I don't think you could actually play PlayStation discs.
Well, this person's playing it.
I don't think they've even made a PlayStation disc to be played on that thing anyways.
Well,
there were games that were planned for it, like Secret of Mana was supposed to be a Nintendo PlayStation game at first.
Well, this Instagram of the guy who won the auction is playing the PlayStation games off of it. Just put in PlayStation.
He's playing SNES games off of it, isn't he?
Oh, is he?
As well.
Oh, let's have
that.
But he's got Ultimate Battle 22 running off it, and Metal Slug. So it's definitely running PlayStation games. They might be modified in some way. They could be burnt copies that have been tinkered with.
Are you sure this isn't? This isn't the Nintendo PlayStation.
I know
this
what
isn't the official one. This is
it
a recreation that someone.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, this one you're linking to on Instagram. It's a thing that someone's made. It's a fan project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about now. What this guy did was he actually took a Satellaview unit. And he put the guts of a PlayStation in it, like a Sony PlayStation, a 32-bit system.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, not nearly as cool.
So that is the most. I would say $114,000. That is the most expensive way to play a game of Super Mario Brothers. But I would say the second most expensive way to play a game of Super Mario Brothers has just been announced. So Nintendo and Lego.
Oh yes.
Nintendo has revealed a Lego NES.
Yes.
And this thing is wild. I did not. It came out as a leak a few days ago at first. And then they officially announced it just today with a video. But it's basically a Lego kit that lets you construct a not functionable NES. It's just like a recreation. It has the cart slot. You can actually construct a Lego cartridge, put it in there and plug it in, and then blow on the cart and then plug it in again, and then take it out, blow on the cart, plug it in again, get a blinking screen.
Don't blow on your actual cartridges, by the way, people.
Yeah, no, it makes them eventually rust. But yeah, not only is it a Lego NES, it's also a Lego retro TV that you construct a game of Mario Brothers that goes inside the TV, and it actually scrolls within the TV, and you have like a Mario on like a stick. and he sort of bounces up and down with the level. And if you buy the Lego Mario that's coming out, the little figure of him that has like the glow up eyes and the sound effects, if you plug him into the top of the TV, it will make the game basically make all the sound effects as you're playing it. It looks insane. Like I don't think I've ever seen a Lego toy like this. Like, Stacey, what was you comparing it to earlier?
Oh god, that I think they're like toddler computer screens that I think they were usually made by Tomy or something.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that you wind up and like it sort of goes.
It scrolls a picture around,
yeah,
doesn't
it does.
Through the like fake TV screen. Yeah, it's kind of like that, except it's all made of Lego pieces. There's actually like little thin sheets of square Lego blocks that are supposed to represent all the tiles of the game, and you actually sort of place them inside the TV and you wind it, and the level scrolls.
It's like an insane Lego Technic kit, basically.
Yeah, it's mad.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen anything like it, but it comes at a cost. It is going to cost, what is it, £210 in the UK?
£220.
£220, and I think it's close to what, $250 to $300 in America or something like that. Maybe $280.
It's 200 in America. It's $229.99.
Oh no, it's 209. Sorry, you were more right than me.
Well, either way, we're still paying a lot more than America is.
Yeah,
Switch Lite.
for $20 more, you could get a Nintendo Switch Lite.
Exactly.
Which can actually
you could get a functional console that can play Mario Brothers and many, many more games.
Yeah, but I know that nobody's gonna buy this expecting to actually play Super Mario Brothers.
No,
of course.
but
Jason. Jason was in the chat. That's cool.
It's annoying because, like I say, America's got it for a lot cheaper than we have. But normally, I'd understand that usually stuff like might come from the USA or it might be based in the USA. But it's Lego. They're closer to us than they are America.
Yeah, exactly. It's European.
It's literally a stone's throw away from us.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not like Nintendo's an American company, so not that I'm bitter, but
Lego's based in Sweden, right? Weren't they a Swedish?
Denmark.
Denmark.
Okay, Denmark. All right, close.
Close enough. But it's one of those things where you look at it and you think that is the coolest thing ever, but also I would not pay that. I'm sorry, but like it's so cool. Like just imagine building that thing and throwing it together and like actually making that thing, like winding it and doing all that stuff. It just looks stunning, but it's not £220 stunning.
And being it's Lego, you're not going to see any kind of realistic discount on this. It's going to probably go right down by like a 10 or 20 if you're lucky. You know,
to be honest, I can't see that even happening because when this thing comes out, it's going to sell out immediately and get scalped.
Yep.
If anything, you'll be paying more for it. You'll be paying probably £500-600 for it on eBay once it's out.
Possibly, yeah.
It's going to be one of those things. They're not making this for kids. They're making it for obsessive Nintendo people that will throw money at it.
Yeah. No, whenever I've been in a Nintendo store, they are very explicit that they make certain kits with adults in mind.
Oh, definitely.
Usually, some of the high end, any kit that costs over £100 is usually targeting adults, like the Star Wars kits.
Either adults or very, very spoilt rich children.
Yes.
It always amazes me about Lego because when I was little, Lego wasn't super cheap. It was kind of expensive, but you could. I remember having tons of Lego because my parents would just get it from boot sales because like people at boot sales, their kids would get bored of it after a while and just flog it off by the literal bucket loads. I just had buckets and buckets of Lego, and I had all the Lego City sets and all this stuff. None of it was brand new from shops. I think it was all from car boot sales.
It's all hand-me-down stuff, and it's one of those. I think what it is now that the ethic of Lego has changed. That
it really
it's all about building the kits.
Yeah,
you know, it's one of those things because they focused on building kits as opposed to just amassing
making whatever you want. You know.
Yeah, it's created this thing where the people don't want to deconstruct what they've built It's like I've got my Lego Mustang sitting right in front of me. I'm not going to break that down into individual pieces
I'm
and
gonna
sell
glue
them.
it together like the guy from the movie.
Yeah, it's like this thing is going to stay a Mustang. I'm not going to change it.
I'm sorry,
And-
but the Lego movie actually made a point about the adult gluing all his Lego together so it can stay permanent and the kid can play with it. They actually made
Yeah,
a plot point out of
No.
that. Spoilers for
they?
the Lego movie, but yeah, that's basically where that film goes.
Yeah.
It's
Like-
the adult mindset versus a child mindset of Lego, but
Yeah.
yet they are the people that are feeding into that.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
I understand, like I like the message. I love the
They
message.
literally make sets of Lego now called Lego Classic, where it is just a bucket full of random bricks, and it's like that's what Lego's supposed to be. It's supposed to just be a bunch of little bricks that you make whatever you want with. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the kits as an adult.
I think they're very cool. Like this, as I say, this Nintendo NES one is probably the coolest looking Nintendo kit I've ever seen. It's so clever. I don't know how they came up with this. Like,
The engineering must be mental in there.
yeah, how they even came like. It's clear that Lego and Nintendo closely collaborated on the whole Mario thing because they've clearly gone about it such a different way. Even the actual Mario figure. Now the Mario figure, I might actually be tempted into because I just think it's really cool how it's got like sort of like the LCD eyes and the stomach, and like it has like NFC stuff in it. So like if you bop it on a Goomba, it makes the proper noise, and he collects coins and all that kind of stuff. I think that's a really cool way of making a Lego Mario
Nintendo.
that is actually sort of a game as well, and you know it's made to be played with. It's actually made to be played with. You know,
Yeah,
It is a cool.
a lot of people were
evolution
looking
of
at that Lego Mario. Sorry, a lot of people were looking at that Lego Mario, going, "Oh, that's not what I wanted. I just wanted a big Mario level kit or something like that." And it's like, no, I think this is better because the way they've gone about it, it's more like an actual sort of like a play-in thing. You know, you put it together to make levels yourself, and I think the way they went about the Mario set is actually quite good for kids.
I mean, it looks like also they're feeding into both bases now anyway.
Yes,
You've got
exactly. I'd say the Mario set, the basic Mario kits, and I think the most expensive one's close to like £150 or something like that. The big Bowser Castle, but the way they've designed that set feels like it's made for kids, even more so than a lot of the other Lego kits like Star Wars and stuff. And then this NES is clearly this is not for kids. This is for collectors. It's quite obvious.
small touch.
Kids ain't really going to care for it, you know. But like,
right. I mean,
they'll probably play with it for like 5 minutes and get bored of it, you know.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I used to have some more complicated Lego kits, and I usually didn't even have the patience to finish building them.
Yeah,
I had
I
one of those
mainly
Lego-
just had little Lego City like
I think I-
sets and stuff.
Yeah,
I think I had like a Lego Technic R2D2 thing when I was a kid,
Oh,
and
nice. I've never seen.
I don't
those, yeah.
I don't even think I even like got through 30% of constructing it.
I only have 2 Lego kits. I've got my Mustang. I've got my Saturn V rocket, which I've bought both fairly recently. I love those, and they weren't exactly cheap, but they were quite expansive builds, especially the Saturn V.
Yeah,
But the one aspect I do like about this Lego kit is the RF port on the back of the telly.
yeah, they actually bothered to put the little and on the NES on the side they've actually put the little RF cable part. They've really gone into like attention to detail with
Is
it.
the European telly going to have a SCART lead in it? Not that the NES ever had a SCART connector, but you know.
Yeah, is the TV going to have a SCART? Yeah, that's a good point. Probably not.
No.
It'll be the same kit, but
Won't have our superior connection.
I don't know. I'm a bit up and down. One, I think it's the coolest looking like Lego kit I've ever seen, and also, hell no, would I pay that for it? You know, personally, I'm sure there's plenty of people that would.
Someone with a little bit more disposable income might consider it.
Definitely, yeah. If I had a really good job and I just had disposable money, sure, yeah, I would definitely buy that thing.
I want it.
The thing with Lego is it's kind of like Nintendo Labo. Most of the fun of it comes from the actual building of it.
Yes, I agree.
And then like the actual playing with it afterwards is kind of like the secondary thing, I guess. It's not really the big draw of it.
No,
No,
this is kind of like those Gundam or Zoids model kits where you really just make them to have it as a decorative piece.
Yeah, I mean,
And most people, and a lot of people buy those mini consoles like the Genesis Mini for that purpose, anyways.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's good
I mean,
that those actually physically play games as well. That's the one thing that would have made this NES amazing, is if it did actually have a little HDMI port and it was basically just an NES Mini inside it.
well, someone's going to
I can imagine
hide it,
Or
Yeah, I know
you
someone.
could judging by the size of it, you probably could squeeze an NES Mini in there.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
Just take a few bricks out of the back for the HDMI to go feed through, and then you could actually hook it up to a telly.
Some of the custom builds people do on that are going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
But or you could just, if you have an NES Mini, you could just play the NES Mini.
Mm.
Yeah,
I mean,
Speaking of,
costs considerably less.
Speaking of, I just know that there's going to be people who are who already made up their minds that they want to buy this thing, even though just last month they were complaining that the Game Gear Micro was too expensive. This thing is more expensive than if you were to buy the Game Gear Micro kit that has all 4 of the Game Gear.
And the big window thing. Yeah, it's saying that, it's saying like the Nintendo Minis, like cheaper. It's not that much cheaper these days. It's 130 quid almost.
Really?
Jeez.
Yeah, on Amazon.
Or just from scalping, and everyone's stuck indoors, so everything's expensive now.
I have never seen a scalped NES Classic sell for close to $229.
No.
But maybe I missed it, but people have a limit when it comes to stuff like that.
I don't know.
They didn't when it first came out. When the NES Mini first came out and it was out of stock everywhere, it was going for stupid money.
Yeah. Not to tangent too much, but yeah, like when you were talking about the Gundam model kits earlier, it's one of those things where and it transfers to the Lego as well. It's like you have 2 ethoses, and they
definitely. I can. Yeah, there's room for both.
Yeah, there's there's a crossover as well. Like, it's what you want to have on your shelf and what looks fun to build.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I can't talk. I've literally got a replica small Mega Drive that I bought that doesn't actually do anything, and I didn't even have to construct it. It's just a little Mega Drive. I paid about 20. What was it? 15 quid, something like that. But it literally does nothing. It's just a little Mega Drive. Also, there's things like there was that Mega Drive Megatron. I don't care for Transformers, but I want that. I super want that.
Yeah,
it's a friggin' Mega Drive that turns into Megatron. It's a Mega Drive Megatron. How can you not like that?
I mean, the last time I did a count up, I think I've built over 80 model kits now. Wow. One of which is my little PlayStation. But yeah, it's one of those things.
That one's really cool because it's actually got the innards as well, hasn't it?
Yeah,
it sort of like does a cross section thing, doesn't it? Where it like pops open.
Yeah, you can pop it open. You can see all of it in there. Yeah, and I put a bit of effort into painting the inside of it, but you don't really see it. But I might as well. Yeah. Still waiting on my Saturn though. I think that might have got lost. But yeah, it wasn't that expensive. But anyway.
Yeah, I think there is a market for this thing, or there's definitely a market for this thing. This is going to sell like friggin' hotcakes. You just know it will.
Of course, yeah.
All I want to know is, are they going to do a Famicom version for Japan?
That would be cool.
I'm really curious. I don't know how Lego goes down.
It's not that big. It's not that big in Japan.
It's huge over there, so I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even release it there. But if they did do like a Famicom version, would it be less pieces? Would it be more? Would it? How would that work? Because it would have to have 2 controllers, wouldn't it? So, but it would also be smaller.
or would they just jump straight doing SNES Mini?
Oh, like a Lego.
I imagine they'll do that first.
Well, that's going to be another hurdle because obviously the NTSC, the American is different to Europe and Japan.
That's true.
Do you want to build a beautiful European or Japanese Super Nintendo out of Lego, or do you want to make the ugly ass purple buttons?
Well, being Lego is from Denmark. I assume they would use the PAL version, but then they might be catering to the American demographic, so it's hard to say
if they even do I would be surprised if this is a one-off.
A Game Boy one would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be neat. I don't know how they would go about the scrolling screen. It would have to be even smaller, but
yeah. But you can get one that has like a little cog, like there are like cog scrollers. Like my Mustang has one where you can scroll a little cog, so maybe you could put it on the back of the screen, but it might be a tight fit. So yeah.
Yeah. It's a cool little thing. Like, I'm not going to complain too much about the price because Lego is expensive in general nowadays.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't
that's
surprised.
just how it is. Right.
And I imagine Lego knows their audience for this thing, so
they totally know their audience.
Oh yeah, society.
So like, don't let us tell you how to spend your money or how to not spend it.
However the F you like. If you've got that kind of money, good for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right, yeah. Right, one last bit of news. This one's very strange. I'm gonna just throw this one out there. So there's been some pretty strange goings-ons when it comes to the Switch eShop lately. Alright, so
didn't think we would talk about this.
Yeah, might as well. There's actually been a couple things. The most recent one was on the Japanese eShop. There was a game. I'm trying to remember what the name of it was. Let me just double check. I think it was called It had a really generic name. I can't really remember.
Yeah, Fantasy Game 101 thing. Yeah,
it was basically a Unity asset swap. But yeah, it popped up on the Japanese eShop, and someone downloaded it, played it, and then they were like, "Hang on a minute." There's actual Zelda music in this, like not even just a cover, literally stolen from like Ocarina of Time or something.
Yeah, Ocarina of Time. Yeah, not even Soul.
Yeah, and that almost immediately got like pulled. As far as I could tell, like it got pulled from the eShop as soon as like it was discovered. Like it's not even the first time this has happened. Like with a Switch game having stolen music in it and having to be like either patched or just removed. In the case of that game, I think it just got straight up removed, and I presume it will show up again later with the song omitted.
Yes,
this isn't even the first time something like this happened on a digital storefront for any console.
Oh no, this has happened loads of times before.
There was another game on the PlayStation Network like this where it had tons of stolen assets, including it actually had some voice clips from Lucina from Fire Emblem.
Oh, the game was called Final Sword.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not available anymore, so there's no point looking. I mean, you could look up the footage and see the stolen music, but otherwise, the game just looked like a really generic. Like, hey, we found a bunch of assets on Unity, chucked together this like crafting adventure kind of thing. That's all it really was. It wasn't anything exciting.
You gotta wonder why, if these guys are gonna steal assets from a game, they usually pick a Nintendo game.
I mean,
you wouldn't think they'd pick something as obvious as Zelda, would you?
Yeah. What are the odds you're going to get away with it? What are the odds?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Surely.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
Like you can't even steal from like an obscure '80s arcade game nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah, I mean, there was literally. I was about to mention there's literally a game that came out on the Switch. It is still available because they actually patched the song out. But there's this game called One Strike, and it had a song in it stolen from a Famicom game called. What's the game called? Maru Senki Madara.
Yeah, Madara. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So apparently
One Strike.
Yeah,
I didn't know it had stolen music in it.
It did, but they patched it out. Basically, the developer of the game paid a composer for the music, and the developer and the publisher were convinced that the track was original because it's from such an obscure game. Who would know? But then as soon as like someone on Twitter went, "Oh, was this plagiarized?" and they linked to the original song, they were like, all right, we're going to go and patch this out. We're going
I wonder
if probably, shout at the guy that sent us the
yeah.
said he was the composer.
I wonder if this is they had an enhanced version of One Strike that came out recently, so it probably is that version and not the original.
Yeah. Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, I think they patched the song out long before that new version came out, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did. They did do that. I remember this now.
And that's not even the strangest thing that's happened on the eShop this week.
Oh.
Nothing's going to ever top this. I don't think anything's ever going to top this thing that appeared on the American eShop for a very brief amount of time and was apparently an accident. But how do you accidentally publish a game?
Yeah, that takes a bit of
effort.
effort.
Accidentally publish and approve a game on a console.
Mhm.
So this game is called Don't Get Cool. It was live for a very short amount of time, and it straight up had a trailer on the website. Yeah, on the eShop. It's basically a jump scare horror game where you're in the back of the car and you're trying to not get caught masturbating.
Yes.
That's what it is.
That's what this is.
It's
I've
literally
heard
like a first person thing. You look down, there's like a smiley face where your knob should be. And you're basically sitting in a car. There's a guy in the driver's seat that you're trying to not let him see you as well. And then there's like a creepy doll next to you as well, which is just adds a whole level of weirdness to it, as well as the fact there's like a weird dead child next to you as well. And yeah, that's what it was. And oh god, I can't find the thread for it now, but there was a thread on Reset Era where someone posted screenshots of like the plot to the game, and I'm not even going to repeat it because wow,
it's really gross.
How did this in any way get approved? And it only got a 16 rating as well. Somehow it didn't get an 18 despite that description.
This reminds me of Persona 3 when it came out in Europe.
Oh yeah.
Where they clearly were not, the PEGI rating was clearly not thought through properly, because we all probably know the general gist of Persona. You fuse demons, and some of the demons are from mythology. It got a 12 rating here, okay, which seems reasonable on the face of it. But there is a well-known demon in the Shin Megami Tensei franchise called Mara.
Yep.
Yeah, so you know about it, and that is in the game. And
12 rated.
12 rated.
12 rated. Never mind that there's, a green cock.
A grind chariot riding penis in the game.
Yeah.
But needless to say, when Persona 3 Fest came out, that got a PEGI 16, which I don't know if that's much better, but yeah.
I mean, it's probably better.
Yeah.
I guess, but I don't know. So yeah, it was pitched as a silly and scary first-person stealth game with a twist. Yep, we were certainly twisting. There was certainly some twisting going on. Yeah, it was literally live from July the 13th, and then I think it got pulled. I think it was in like the pre-order section, like the coming soon section. So I don't even think it actually got released. Like it wasn't actually available to download yet. You could just like pre-order it. I think it was like £7 or something like that. But either way, like it got pulled before it even got released, basically.
Yeah. It was supposed to come out yesterday, but obviously
it was supposed to go out yesterday. Yeah.
£7.19. It looks terrible.
I mean, I can't really imagine how this would be anything but terrible, judging by what it is.
You say it's on the American. I suppose you could log in on the American eShop, but usually it changes the money. But there's one here; it's in pounds.
Oh, so it must have been on the UK shop then.
Yeah,
I'm mistaken about it being on the American one then.
Yeah, that's
I'm just absolutely fascinated how this even happened. Like.
The game
when the trailer straight up shows you what you're doing. I mean, it's censored. You don't actually see anything.
No.
But just the thought of it, like the actual, you're still doing the motion.
Yeah. The game has been approved for a PEGI 16 age rating.
Yeah.
So
you don't accidentally get a PEGI rating for a video game.
The eShop description has a warning message. Note: the game includes scenes of sexual activities which are inappropriate for younger audiences.
Yeah.
A lot of the right people just were asleep at the wheel at the time.
Everyone accidentally was involved in getting this to the shop, basically. Like I can imagine this thing. I can imagine something like this appearing on Steam, because they literally just let literally anything on there now. Like just any old weird porn game just shows up on there now. So it wouldn't surprise me there.
No. Well,
maybe that's how they get the PEGI rating. Like, does every Steam game have a PEGI rating? I should think most of them do, but
you would think so. Apparently, a quick search online suggests it's adapted from a vaguely censored version of a PC game of the same name.
Ah, that checks out.
Yep. So there you go.
That super checks out. So I guess this game is available on PC if you really want to play a game.
Oh.
No,
It's for free. It's for free on the internet if you want to play it.
Oh, it's free.
Oh,
Yeah.
my.
So they tried to sell it for money on the Switch.
Which may be the big
£7.19 Switch tax. Yeah.
Oh boy, it's beating a meeting all over again, isn't it?
Except that wasn't officially like Atari approved.
No.
Whereas
Wasn't
this
the right one.
Nintendo at some point went, yep. At some point, Nintendo must have glanced at it for 5 seconds and gone, yep. Go on then.
Yeah, whatever.
We won't watch the trailer. We'll just look at the screenshots. It's fine. The screenshots just show some creepy doll. It's fine.
But like in a more abstract sense, this should be like a red flag to consumers on Nintendo to a degree, in as much as that the curation progress is clearly not that rigorous. And if it slips through, who knows what else could, like, you know, games with maybe bricking your Switch or something.
I think that's literally the only thing that won't end up on the Switch at this point is games that are made. Like, I think Nintendo I think when people say the Nintendo seal of quality, all that means is does the game not break your console? It doesn't break your console? Good, ship it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, there comes a point where when Nintendo's system. There comes a point where Nintendo just gives up on quality control. It happened with the Wii. It happened again with the Wii U.
Oh,
it's ironic.
It happened with the Wii U. Remember Meme Run?
Yeah.
I mean, that did get delisted eventually, but yeah.
Remember the first Skunk Bundle? The game that everyone downloaded only because it was free at one point, and by downloading it, you got 40 gold points for your My Nintendo account for free because it's supposed to actually be $20 normally.
Huh.
Well,
I don't think that ever happened here.
It's
I downloaded that game just for those coins. It was hilarious. Didn't even play it, but I know I mentioned him a lot, but I watched Fine Sauce play it.
It's
It
ironic.
was the weirdest thing ever.
It's ironic and a little bit sad because Nintendo were the company that came into the industry to stop this kind of thing, the shit that Atari were pulling.
Yeah, if anything, Nintendo were like a bit too gung ho about censorship at one point. During like some of the NES and SNES days.
They introduced the Nintendo seal of quality for that same purpose, and then Sega did the same thing as well.
Yeah. But it's one of those things at that time. You know, certain things certainly wouldn't slip through now. I mean, it had its problems with how Nintendo did things back then, for sure. Certainly, I think it was 3 games that any one publisher could release a year.
So some publishers literally made a new studio just so they could publish more
Palcom.
games.
Palcom, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Ultra Games.
Yep, Ultra Games.
Namcot as well.
Yep. Yeah, that's why they did that as well, yeah.
So, you know, it wasn't the most foolproof method. It's weird, isn't it? Because like Atari went through all this effort to do Tengen and to get around it, and it's like, couldn't you have just done it but minus the copyright infringement? You know, just made Tengen and then got your other 3 games and then make another shell company and do the same thing.
Yeah, it was weird times. I know when the Switch first came out, like for the first, I think it was like 10 months or something, they said that at that point it was quite strict what they let in. And then the floodgates were opened pretty much by the end of 2017. Yeah.
I think I'd rather have it where like there were less games, to be honest.
Because there's a lot of crap. But at least there's still lots of good stuff as well. And I feel like if you... For example, if you killed off every game that's less than £1 by default, you are going to miss some good stuff. Because there are some super budget games on the Switch that are actually pretty good. I've featured quite a few of them on that eShop car booty thing. Some of them were like less than £1 and they're actually legit games. So I wouldn't want to see that kind of stuff disappear.
Yeah, speaking of which, Platigo, which is basically a platform maker, basically it's an RPG maker, but platform games. That's currently 89p, and I've basically using gold coins to download that. I hadn't had
89p for
what's it called again?
Platigo.
Platio.
Platigo.
Platico.
Platico. Okay.
So
look at that. Yeah.
I will have a gander
Is
now.
that on the Switch?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like a thing that lets you make a platformer, apparently.
it's usually like £20, but they've
Wow.
like not 95% off.
Wow.
So,
Okay. Yeah. See, that's
can't-
the one thing I like about the Switch. In the case of the Wii U, is it had a lot of junk because a lot of it was like HTML5 games or something, but they never went on sale, so they weren't even cheap. They were like a tenner. It's like it's just, and there wasn't enough good indie games on the Wii U eShop to balance it out. Whereas on the Switch, I think there's enough balance between the two.
Platago.
Like, there's a load of crap on the Switch, but there's also lots of good stuff. Whereas on the Wii U, I felt like it was like 90% shovelware.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right. Same deal with the 3DS, actually.
Yeah, I'd say so. I guess one last little bit of news I could throw in, just because it came up pretty much straight after, or straight before we went live. There was a Google Stadia stream earlier in the day. It was like 15 minutes. It just showed off a few things. They announced Super Bomberman R for Stadia, but it's like an exclusive version of the game that has a 64-player mode.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's like an exclusive version of Super Bomberman R that has what essentially looks like Tetris 99, but for Bomberman. Like you're on a game with like 6 other players, I suppose. But then there's like loads of other little games happening underneath. Like in little, you can just see little squares of like all the other players going. So it's kind of like a battle royale situation, but for Bomberman.
Yeah, you could see on the corners of any one screen there were little exits.
Yeah, that too. So you should be able to, once you maybe defeat everyone on your game, you should be able to walk into another one.
Yeah,
That's how it might work. But
yeah, I think it's like like how Zelda 1 had that interconnected underworld map, and I think it's going to be the same sort of thing with this.
It kind of looks like it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I got to admit, I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, it's something I've always wanted from Bomberman is a massive multiplayer mode, because I mean, like, one of my favourite things of all time is that super multiplayer mode in Saturn Bomberman, where you can have up to 10 players.
I mean,
and
kind of
like
was the original battle royale.
Yeah, it can't. Yeah,
That
no
was-
way.
That was the first thing I thought of when I heard about this, and I know a lot of people would love that. It's too bad you're never going to get a full 64 players in one game, since this is exclusive to Google Stadia, though.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It may dry up pretty quick.
I would love it if they found a way to patch this mode into the Switch game, if they could find a way to make it work there, because the online on the Switch game is dead. Absolutely dead. Like, it was dead very quickly. Which is a real shame, because when I did play that a few times online and it did work, it was absolutely brilliant.
Well, I think I wouldn't say it's impossible, because as much as I give Konami grief over the years, they really have supported Bomberman R.
Yeah, they really did. They added so much good stuff to it.
Yeah, so I would not say it's impossible to assume that this could come to another one. I don't know. It might just be a gimmick for Stadia, but if it came to the Steam version, at least.
They also showed in the trailer that you'll be able to basically join YouTube streamers that are playing it. Like, on the fly, just jump in and join them. I think that's really cool. Like, that's the concept of Stadia. The actual concept of being able to just watch someone on YouTube and then just join them, just by clicking a button and just having your controller set up and just joining them, is really good.
It's great.
It's just everything else they've done around Stadia has just made it a complete mess.
It has not been implemented properly.
No, the way they made it so you have to pay full price for most of the games, or you can get a subscription to get some games, like in a like subscription service. But I don't really know how this game's gonna be. Is it a full price game or whatever?
If they with the massive lag that comes with playing anything on Google Stadia, good luck actually trying to stream a game from it
at the same time as playing it.
Yeah, obviously that's going to depend on how good your internet connection is, but
and it's upload and download speed. It's not really the same, much crossover.
Yeah,
I mean, if this comes as a free game with the subscription, I will probably get a subscription just to play it for a bit.
Yeah, I could be.
I could imagine that's the
inclined.
only hope this has.
Yeah.
It's definitely the most exciting announcement related to Stadia ever so far.
and probably-
Everything else has been like, oh, here's a game you can play on the PC, but with input lag. So
Yeah,
and
but
it's not,
worse.
it doesn't even look better. You know, it's not.
Yeah.
It's running off some supercomputer somewhere, but it doesn't even look any better than it would if you played it on your PC. If you've got a good PC anyway.
And although
Like,
if it,
I think Digital Foundry did some like videos where they were comparing how the Stadia versions of some games were compared to, like, say, the Xbox, what's it? The high-end Xbox. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, Xbox One X.
Xbox One X. That's the one. Yeah, and they said like it doesn't even look as good as the Xbox One X version. It was like high but not ultra settings of the PC games, basically. It's like, what's the point?
My concern is going to be not even necessarily like the physical graphical quality of the textures and stuff, but is that actually going to come across on your screen without a huge amount of bit crunch? You know,
Yeah.
you're talking about rendering 1080p fast enough. You know,
Yeah,
it's just...
I just feel like Stadia, in theory, can work, but I just don't think we're there yet. It's kind of like that old. Do you remember that thing called OnLive? I think
Oh, yeah.
OnLive, that
Yeah,
little
I
controller
remember
thing
that.
where they tried to do like a streaming
Yeah.
service. That was like,
God,
God, that was like 10 years ago or something, wasn't it? And
I
that was like the
remember-
first time I remember seeing anyone trying to do a streaming service, and it was just way too early to do it.
I remember Mark Butler from Classic Game Room made a bunch of videos on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think if they had picked the right games, I think turn-based games or like 4X games or some of those like Civilization and that could work in Stadia. I can see that.
Definitely. Stuff like Worms and stuff like that.
Yeah, anything that doesn't require, like, say, that really fast input.
I mean, they put stuff like Samurai Showdown on there, and they're like, no,
funny.
No, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Good luck playing that on there.
Not to mention that when people find out the game doesn't look that good on Stadia, Google's quick to blame the developers for it.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think that's got anything to do with anything, has it? Because it's essentially just running the PC version, I assume. You know, and yeah, it's like,
I would assume, yeah. But and then Google Stadia is supposed to be running off a big time supercomputer too, which should be more capable than any console that's currently available at the moment.
It's just one of those things where I wonder, the more that you get running on it, on their architecture, the harder it's gonna, self-fulfilling prophecy. The more popular Stadia is, probably the worse service will probably be.
Yeah,
because those things are gonna have to work overtime, you know. And it's a supercomputer, so it's like, is the architecture going to be the same as a PC? You know, probably not. And yeah, I think it's a pipe dream at the moment, to be honest.
It's nice to see them announcing stuff like this, though. This is the kind of stuff it needs.
It does.
Like, especially, it's not just a straight pull of Super Bomberman R. They have actually made a mode exclusive for it. That's like, hey, that might actually make it worth playing. You know.
I think, like, it might be gravely overestimating the amount of people who care about Bomberman, who also care about Stadia.
Yeah, I guess.
But
yeah.
I mean, I love it. To me, that's like, that's almost enough to make me want to try out Stadia, which is saying a lot, you know.
Yeah, no. You can sell me on a lot of things by throwing Bomberman into it.
Yeah, I mean, that would have sold. Not that you weren't sold on Smash anyway, but you know.
Yeah.
But it's, yeah, you know, I like it. I appreciate the thought. You know, and it looks cool. I just wish it was on Stadia.
Yeah. Like,
which is not
if
what
they find a way to patch this into the Switch game, I'll be very happy.
Yes.
Right, so I guess this is technically news, but I also want to put this as like our main topic because it's in the thumbnail and it's the thing we're going to be talking about a lot. So this was revealed literally a day after the last podcast, I think.
Yep.
I literally woke up to this news and I almost couldn't believe it because I thought at first it was fake because after seeing the Game Gear Micro and how monkey paw that thing was about, like, oh, they're making a Game Gear Micro, except it's only 4 games on each one and they cost a fortune and they're far too small. And it's like, but then this appeared out of nowhere the Astro City Mini. Oh, sorry,
Yep.
the Astrocity Mini.
What?
Yeah, the Astrocity Mini. You know, like Hydrocity.
Oh, I see. Well,
Oh, you cheeky bastard.
Right, so yeah, Sega of Japan, I think this has actually been developed by Sega Toys, but yeah, they announced a Astro City Mini, which is basically like, it's very similar to that Neo Geo Mini that came out, which is like a little tiny arcade cabinet, except this one's, yeah, and it's, yeah. It's going to have 36 games on it, all arcade games as far as I can tell. It'll have HDMI, it's got like multiple USBs in the back. They're also selling a little controller that you can plug into it for 2-player stuff, all that kind of stuff. But the game selection, they've only revealed 10 games, but already I am hype as F about this thing.
Yeah,
So am I. I don't
Yeah.
even need to see the rest.
No, exactly. I'm already sold. Like, there's 26 more games, but I'm already sold.
the 10 that they give us.
Yeah, so the 10 games so far are Alien Syndrome, as in the top-down game, all the guys stuck on the walls and you have to run
Not
around.
aliens, basically.
Yeah, basically. Alien Storm, which I don't think the arcade version's ever been directly ported before.
No,
so
don't think so.
that's the first
believe
time you'll
it
get an
is
arcade perfect version. So it's got the arcade version of Golden Axe. It's got Columns 2, which is quite interesting, instead of Columns 1, I guess because it's got the extra modes. It's basically an update to the first game, so I guess that's why they picked that. It's got Puzzle and Action Tantar. It's got Fantasy Zone. It's got Altered Beast, but then it's also got Virtua Fighter 1, which I was really surprised by because you know it's a 3D game, so it's got to take some extra emulation power to do that. And then the next two I left these two games for last because they're extra special. So we're getting Dark Edge, which has never seen a release outside of arcades. Probably it's a super rare arcade game anyway. I doubt barely anyone played it. It's basically a super scalar fighting game they did just before Virtua Fighter.
It's kind of a bit like Final Fight in a way, where not Final Fight, Fatal Fury, where you can sort of jump between.
Yeah, except it's like a whole sort of like flat. I don't know why, but the only other game I can think of that it plays similar to, and this is a lot better. It's kind of better. Is Balls 3D because it's like a sprite-based 3D fighting game where you got free roaming and you can run around each other and all that
There's also that Bastard on the Super Nintendo. Don't know if you ever played that.
Yes, that's similar as well. Yeah, that kind of deal. Yeah, so it's like a sprite-based 3D fighting game basically. So yeah, never been ported before. But best of all, Golden Axe Revenge of Death Adder.
Oh,
yes!
Literally, that alone was my one buying that.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. Like, why this game has never been ported anywhere before is absolutely baffling to me. I don't know. Like, this is the true Golden Axe sequel. Golden Axe 2, it was fine, but it's not this. It's not this. Like, if you've ever played this in MAME or anything, this is the true sequel. This is a fantastic game.
This is the only Golden Axe sequel worth a damn.
Yeah. I
I
can totally agree with that. Like,
I know Golden Axe fans, but they're wrong.
Yeah, I never really gelled with 3 or 2 was okay, but it was more.
2 was fine, but yeah,
it was more of the same. Really, it just felt like an expansion to. Yeah, it was good, but it wasn't that much different from the first one. It was pretty much just an expansion.
I think 2 is a fine game relative to the first game. It's a terrible game relative to Revenge of Death Adder. You know?
Yeah. Revenge of Death Adder is just a stunning game. I played it on MAME a couple of times. I was like, they could have done a Saturn port, but instead they did that weird Golden Axe the Duel, which isn't very good. They haven't done any like Sega Ages releases of this, and I think they might eventually get to it at this point. I mean, it depends what's going to happen with the Switch M2 games because they're basically at the end of the announced games now. I think Herzog Sway is like the last game they announced.
That's the last one.
It's the last one. They did insist that they want to go forward with some Naomi games, which is the arcade version of the Dreamcast.
I don't think they like
more or less.
promised that. They just said they would like to eventually get there, but I think they're going to focus on arcade, Mega Drive. And
They did recently say that they want to do that. They didn't confirm they will. They just they're just
there's a difference between wanting it and actually.
Yeah, they got it working.
Yeah.
I also know that M2 have confirmed that they're going to be doing the Tower Plan games soon, so there might be a gap between the Aegis releases. So, I mean, I'm okay with that.
I'm fine with that. I would happily take all those Tower Plan games with flip grip support on the Switch.
Yeah.
Thank you, please.
I guess.
And with this thing coming out, I think I'm okay with like a gap in Sega Aegis stuff in general, because again, this has been produced by M2.
Yep.
Actually, it's been confirmed that M2 is not working on this.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure it's been confirmed already.
Oh
no, yeah, they
see that.
Because
I know Sega Toys.
The designers working on it. They talked about this on Twitter a while ago. Some of the people at Sega who are working on this, they basically confirmed already that M2 is actually not working on this. I don't know who is.
That is correct. A statement has been released.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as the ports are good, I'm fine with it. But...
Yeah, because they're working on the Game Gear Micro right now, so that could be why.
Yeah, because this is Sega Toys.
They probably might. They might finally have too many projects to work on at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. M2 do have a lot on their plate.
But they did also confirm that they have Hiro working on the music for the menu. And Hiro, I forget his full name, but Hiro is the main composer of some of Sega's best-known arcade games from the 80s, like Outrun, most notably.
Yep. And Space Area and all the good stuff. Yeah, having him doing original songs. I think they already played one of them in the trailer.
They did. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
So it's the form factor of the thing. It's going to be obviously a shrunk down version of the licensed Astro City cabinets that you can buy that are in Japan. That's going to, apparently, people are speculating it might be a sticking point in us actually getting that.
Well, honestly, the Neo Geo Mini, even though they did change it for the international release, it still looks like a Japanese Neo 19 arcade cabinet.
Yeah, the thing is, though,
it still sold more units internationally than it ever should have.
But unfortunately, that's not the issue that they're saying is the problem. They're saying that Astro C is a licensed cabinet manufacturer.
Is it?
In Japan,
they were just made by Sega.
Well, I'm pretty sure a lot of Astro City cabinets are used as like a multi-cade type thing. I mean,
they are actually. That's the interesting thing about these candy cabinets, as they're called. They are used for a lot of different games from all sorts of companies all the time. There's very few where they're specifically meant for a certain type of system. Like some of the Neo Geo ones, the
MVS was special in that way.
Yeah.
But even then, a lot of those were also used for like the Hyper Neo Geo 64, and the ones made for Hyper Neo Geo 64 could also work with MVS systems.
But I don't see it as a big issue because at worst case scenario, they just wipe the Astro City logo from the top.
Apparently, the Astro City is straight up just by Sega.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is one of Sega's. Basically, they just they manufactured it in a way that any company like Capcom or SNK could have.
Oh, okay. So they are the rights holders to it anyway. So that should be no problem.
Pretty much.
You know what? Even the Sega Saturn's, that Furcher stick that came out in Japan for the Sega Saturn is modelled after the arcade sticks on the Astro City.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's good.
Plus, in some of the Sega Aegis Shinobi and Thunder Force AC for Nintendo Switch, there is a screen mode for an arcade cabinet mode, and if you turn that on and set it to the Japanese version, it is an Astro City cabinet.
Yeah,
with the Astro City sign on it.
Okay.
So and it's got the usual trappings. It's got obviously a HDMI port, so you HDMI out, so you can plug it into a TV, which is godsend. And it will have an additional controller that will be released that looks like a really charming Astro City
Virtual
controller.
Yeah, it's got a
Yeah,
nice little
yeah.
Saturn style
It's like-
D-pad on it. And it's
It
quite
reminds me of the PC Engine controller, just with more buttons.
nice. Yeah.
I've got an interesting thing about that.
It does look like that. Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing if it works with
Sorry,
the.
what was you going to say, Andrew?
Well, basically today I was very, very close to ordering the Astro City cabinet from Amazon Japan,
Okay.
and I thought, okay, I'm willing to pay all the import tax and this, that, and the other. And I thought, oh, go on, they're selling the controllers as well. Apparently, they can't send the controllers outside Japan, but they can send the arcade cabinet. So I'm not sure.
I heard about that. For some reason, you can't order the controllers outside Japan.
I heard about this too. That's weird.
That's
I think there's a different store that I'd never heard of, which actually does ship the controller outside Japan.
The exact same thing happened with the PC Engine Mini. I was able to
it
buy
did.
my PC Engine Mini, but it would not let me buy a controller.
That's really strange.
Yes. So,
The good thing
But at
about this is apparently because it's got two USB ports in the back, it should be compatible with other USB controllers.
I was going to
So,
say
like, if
earlier,
you've got like a Mega Drive USB pad, it should work on it.
I was going to say, I'd be curious if this also supports the Retrobit USB Saturn and Genesis controllers, which themselves
I can't
also
see why
were also
not.
supported on the Genesis Mini.
I don't see
No.
why not.
no, because they don't like.
Possible. I mean, the 2.4 gigahertz wireless controllers actually do work with the TurboGrafx 16 Mini, even though they were never intended to.
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, the PC Engine Mini for me, I can't use like any of my other controllers with that.
Okay.
But yeah, that doesn't really necessarily follow that you won't be able to do it on a Sega console, so it probably will be fine with those Saturn pads.
I guess we'll soon find out.
Yeah,
From what
Yeah,
I've heard, the stick and the buttons are actual like micro. It's got like a proper micro switch stick, which I'm so
They
happy to
are.
hear because the Neo Geo one wasn't.
no,
Yeah, they dropped the ball big time on that thing. That was my
it's
biggest
a real shame
disappointment
because
about
that thing, everything about it was like, yep, that sounds brilliant. But then people were saying, oh, it feels like mushy rubbish. I was like, oh.
oh yeah,
It was the same with the Neo Geo CD style controllers that were made for it as well.
Yep, no,
Yeah,
Mike.
They couldn't
exactly,
even-
they were the same.
They couldn't even arrange the face buttons on that thing correctly.
No, it feels like SNK just don't know how to make controllers anymore. Like SNK used to
honestly
make
felt-
some of the best controllers, and now they just
It honestly felt to me like the SNK is not the same company that they were at the start of the
of course
2010s.
not. No.
No.
And I feel like the new company that's in charge, they kind of act like they don't even like SNK's old hardware designs.
Mhm.
Like they think they can do it better.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, like how? I mean, you've got the Arcade Stick Pro. Would you say that
Yeah.
has good parts in it?
I would say that they are below arcade quality, but not bad quality. I would say that's the sort of thing you would have got from an arcade stick that you would buy for the home, maybe.
Oh, that's fair. That's
Yeah.
I think that's good enough for what it is.
It's more than good enough, and the best thing about it is it's literally was built with modding in mind. Because if you take open the arcade stick and turn it upside down, the inside of the cabinet has some more screw bits for larger sticks.
Oh, cool.
So
that's
if you want specifically designed to put in a Sanwa plate and all of that inside, there's exactly the right size for that. So they've clearly thought people are going to
yeah.
customize this.
Oh, definitely.
And the buttons just pop out and they've got little crocodile clips to just put new ones in. So it's
That's cool.
modifying it is a piece of cake. So
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like they made this as a sort of entry level, and if you want to go further with it, you can and make an arcade quality stick. And of course, that
Brilliant.
does work as a normal arcade stick, not just as a game collection
Yeah.
of sorts.
I
So
mean, to be fair, I'm quite used to, I guess, console caliber arcade sticks anyway. I mean, I got my pair of Dreamcast ones that are,
Yeah.
you know, they're not arcade quality, but they're almost arcade quality. They're good enough. I feel like the stick and the little buttons on this are going to be that same kind of good enough.
Yeah.
But,
if I-
yeah.
if I get the thing, I don't know if it'll pick up on the thing, but you can get these are Sanwa clones. These buttons,
Yeah.
and they kind of feel like it. They're a bit more squidgy, but not
Such a
bad.
fun sound.
Yeah,
I don't know why that makes me giddy.
you know, a stick feels great
Yeah,
as well.
so even though that's not exactly an original hardware design either, they're at least upping the quality. So I'll be nicer when it comes to the Neo Stick Mini. Was it
Yeah, Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro. Yeah,
Neo
it's
Geo Arcade Stick Pro? Yes.
it may be the exception to the rule. I'd say it definitely is, because they're still saying, oh, you can plug in those Neo Geo CD sticks to play multiplayer if another person doesn't own one of them. And it's like, but would you want to?
Yeah,
Those things
it's
are
like
horrible.
giving someone one of them horrible third-party controllers.
Yeah.
It's like, here you go. Here's
I
my
would
second
rather-
controller.
I'd rather kick
I
him in
would
the
buy
knees.
I would buy a second Neo Geo Arcade Stick Pro before
Well,
I buy another one of those things.
Yeah, that would be the thing to do.
I feel like that would work.
But
yeah. Right, so price-wise, it is currently it says it's going to be 12,800 yen.
£102.
Yeah, it's about 100 and something pounds. Probably closer to 115 quid after taxes or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think
Right.
that's a fair price for what it is. Because when you
Yeah.
think how much like the Mega Drive Mini is, it's like what, 70-80 pounds.
Mhm.
I think that is more, especially since it's got a little screen on it, depending on the quality of the screen, and the fact that it's got 36 games on it and not like 4 like the Game Gears have.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
I think it's worth every penny. Like,
Yeah,
I think this is going to be fantastic. I can't wait. I
I
just
was
hope the
looking up-
emulation's good.
I
That's
was looking up the store that ships the
Oh,
controllers
Ami.
to the US. Yeah, it's called Ami.
Yeah.
They
That's
have
the
the-
one.
Right
Yeah.
now, they have the controller up for 3,058 yen, which is about $28.5 US.
£22. Yeah, the only thing I will say about Ami, as someone who has used them before, sometimes they will let you quote unquote pre-order a thing, but when you go to actually verify the purchase, it will say not available in your country. Sometimes, most of the time, it's fine, but I've had figures where that's happened to me in the past. So,
Is that right?
so even though it does say that it's there, it is available. It might not be when it comes down to it.
All right. So buy it
Jury-
at your own risk, I guess.
Yeah, jury's
I've
out on
never
that.
heard- I've never heard of this company before, so I don't know how they do things.
Oh, I buy from them fairly often. But one of the things I like about this is that they're not just full size buttons; they're like little buttons.
Yeah.
You know, and they're apparently tell me if I'm wrong, but I think they commissioned Sanwa to make smaller versions of the buttons for it.
Really?
That's what I
hope
heard.
That's true, because that's cool.
It is. They did say that it's the same type of hardware that they'd use on an actual Astro City, so I'd imagine that's what
Yeah.
they did.
So that I think that's just so cool.
I'm just glad Sega respects their own hardware enough to actually make this resemble their own hardware, and to go as far as to work with the company that made parts for the actual hardware as well, in order to customize its stuff in order to make it work on this thing.
Yeah.
Well, I just hope that this is a sign that the build quality in the hardware is going to be a sign of the software development. Side of it. That's my only concern now that M2 are working on it.
I hope so. They did say that when they picked the games, they decided they didn't want to just settle for stuff that's easy to port, which I imagine
the fact that they
how
got Virtua Fighter 1
wound up
on.
this.
Yeah, the fact that they got Virtua Fighter 1 on there. That game is still. There are no perfect ways to play that. Like, even on MAME, it's not perfect.
No,
Like, so them putting that on there is ballsy. I really can't wait to see someone actually playing Virtua Fighter on that thing and see how well it runs, because that game is not easy to emulate.
No, Model 2 is actually easier to emulate than Model 1 is.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
the name
is
easier.
Model 1 being the arcade hardware Virtua Fighter was made for those who don't know.
Exactly.
Yes,
That's why Virtua Racing on the Nintendo Switch, that's not emulation. That is a port from the original source code.
Makes you wonder about this Virtua Fighter, really.
Yeah, it could be the
really
same.
Curious to see what they had to do to get that running. Yeah, so basically, as far as this Christmas, because it's coming out in December, as far as this Christmas goes, forget the PlayStation 5, forget the Xbox Series X.
Yep.
This is what I want. This is the system for me. I can live without the next gen consoles. I just want this little thing.
Yeah,
I'm
I
super
mean,
hyped for this.
yeah,
This
this
is
is what.
probably the best news I've had all year in terms of like gaming stuff. It's just like, yep, this is made for me. You're gonna buy this, and you're gonna look at the bottom, and it's gonna say my name on the bottom. It's gonna say, "To Aaron, love Sega." That's what it says on every single unit. It was made specifically for me.
It's gonna be interesting. It's definitely one of those devices. Because normally I would be like, oh, I'll see what the emulation is like. I don't think I'm going to do that here. I think I'm just going to buy it because
it's got Revenge of Death Adder
I'm
on
sure
it. That's
it'll
enough. It's got Dark Edge. Dark Edge isn't a particularly great game, but the fact that they've even put it on there, it's just like, that's cool.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really nice that Sega remembers Dark Edge.
Yeah, I'm really surprised they even. Yeah, I suppose someone has to. I guess one thing I wanted to make this into a main topic is they still have 26 games to announce.
Yep.
So, what would you guys like to see, and what do you think is feasible, and what do you think is not feasible?
Daytona, you say.
Daytona, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you saying you want that on there, or are you saying you don't think it's feasible?
Well, I think it's feasible. I mean, you've got Virtua Fighter on there, so
Yeah. I mean,
I think so far they have announced games that pretty much would use an arcade stick and nothing that would involve steering wheels or anything like that. So I'm kind of curious to see if any racing games get on this thing.
that's going to be the thing, because that's going to not be authentic feeling.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be fine, but I do feel like stuff like Super Hang On and Outrun are possible, but also I wouldn't be surprised if they're not there.
I think
I'm just gonna say right now, I'm not expecting any driving games or any light gun shooters to ever be on this.
Yeah,
I'm not expecting anything. I'm not expecting any game that wouldn't actually be running in a real Astro City or similar cabinet.
I would say that it's possible that that's not strictly going to be the case, but I do think it's mostly going to be the case. I mean, I think it's possible Space Harrier will come to it.
I think that's almost guaranteed. I think out of the Super Scalar games, that's the one that will probably be on there.
Yeah.
I don't think
Maybe
that one.
Afterburner, but again,
I don't think either of those are guaranteed either, because those games use light sticks. Not to mention,
I guess.
Not to mention, like most driving games, like Daytona, they had to have their own special cabinets made worldwide.
I mean,
and there's licensing issues around Daytona as well.
Yeah, that's true. I would like to see maybe something like, as a sort of semi-pipe dream, as one of those sort of, look, we've got this game that's not available anywhere else, would be obviously Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. I know it doesn't have a trackball, but you know,
that would be cool. Going even crazier than that, I think if they want to get something on there that could realistically work, if they can get the means to, because obviously it got leaked recently or semi-recently in the last few years, I guess now. Sega Sonic Bros, the puzzle game.
Oh yeah.
If they could get that on there, it'd be worth double the price. Like to preserve that game permanently and to be able to officially own it, even though it's not an amazing game, just the fact that if they could get that on there, that would be incredible.
You know, that game would be possible. And it would be a neat bonus. It would be one of those neat bonuses that they have in there, sort of like Darius and Tetris on the Genesis Mini.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't M2 in this case, so I suppose
I shouldn't
M2, really expect like any like ridiculous bonuses like that. But
at the same point, if they can successfully reverse engineer Virtual Fighter, who can say?
Yeah, exactly. Who knows at this point? Just whittling down the list of games from a similar era, I can see them putting stuff like Alex Kidd the Lost Stars on there, the arcade version, because that's never had. I can see that happening just so they've got some kind of.
I can see that too, especially with that Alex Kidd in Miracle World remake on the way. They might as well do something else with Alex Kidd in the meantime.
I think the original Wonder Boy is very likely.
Yeah.
Let me think. Quartet would be nice, and obviously that game works best as a multiplayer game, so not 100% sure on that. I think Shinobi's all but guaranteed.
Yeah,
I think Shinobi's a guarantee as well.
Yeah. Trying to think what else. I'd love to see Dynamite Ducks.
Yeah.
Because the only official ports of that were on like the Master System, and then there was a bunch of like home computer ports. But I never understood why there was never a Mega Drive version of that, because I think a Mega Drive version would have been really good, and I've played quite a bit of that on MAME, and it's quite fun. That's a really fun game.
I wonder if we'll see any of the Mega Play games on there. So like Mega Play Streets of Rage or something.
I kind of hope not.
No,
I don't see that happening.
I feel like
either.
that'd be cheating. Like just to have Mega Drive games again. I want
That's
to see
slightly
stuff that's never been ported, or stuff that's never had an arcade perfect port before.
I don't think it'd be wise to do any kind of Mega Play games on this thing either.
No.
I imagine they'd want to highlight stuff that you could only play in the arcade. And I know that Mega Play games, they were changed in a bunch of ways, so that it's not the exact same game you would play on
Yeah,
Genesis.
it's close enough, isn't it?
Yeah, and still
Yeah.
basically the same hardware and whatnot. I think Tetris might be possible, seeing as they ported Tetris to the Mega Drive Mini. I can see that maybe happening. Puyo is, or Puyo 2 is probably guaranteed.
I'd like that.
Yeah, Puyo Puyo could most likely happen.
If they've got Virtua Fighter 1, do any of
2.
you think Model 2 stuff's possible? Because Model 1 alone is a bit of a push.
I imagine Model 2 games will most certainly happen if they have Model 1 games. They did say they
Possibly.
want to. They did say they don't want to go with stuff that's easy to port. So
Yeah.
Model 2 might be the latest.
Yeah, I
arcade
don't think you'll
hardware
get beyond
they-
that. But that
could
would
feed
really
the
open the floodgates for some amazing stuff.
Model 2 would be great. I think it's possible. I think to not release Virtua Fighter 2 would be somewhat of a mistake.
If anything, if they put 2 on there, I'll just take 1 off.
Yeah.
Just to fill the gap. So I'm not expecting it, but it would be nice to have both on there.
I mean, Power Drift, maybe?
Possibly. Again, not sure about the driving game right now. Until they announce a driving game, I'm not expecting any.
Which is a bit of a thing, because like their games that use specific hardware is kind of Sega's thing at that time.
It really, well, for most of their arcade roots, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even see them making a separate racing controller to plug into the
Oh,
USB
no.
port.
Oh,
or
no,
something
that's
like
not
this.
going to happen. No.
Assuming they could get the license, I'd quite like to see Star Wars arcade. But that might be a bit of a stretch. But you know,
Yeah,
If
and
we're
that
going
was
into
another-
silly license games, how about Moonwalker?
Oh,
Yeah.
The arcade version of Moonwalker would actually
Yeah.
be pretty swell to have with the 3
Yeah.
Michael Jacksons.
Yeah.
that would be quite cool.
Yeah, that game's
Yeah,
actually
I don't
quite good.
even think they. I'm pretty sure they confirmed they can't even get full 4-player multiplayer in Golden Axe: Revenge of Death Adder.
That would be a shame.
So-
But I suppose
Yeah.
that's understandable because it's only got 2 USB ports in the back.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. And of course, this is still in development, so it's possible something can change. But
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Pod
They're
Racer.
gonna put-
at this point, I don't think. At this point, I don't even think they've actually decided all the games that
Maybe not.
are going to be.
Well, they're
This
thinking
won't
about
be
it.
like this won't be like the Genesis Mini where they already decided everything before they announced the system and just
Maybe.
partially revealed all the games over the coming months.
I think it could go either way ultimately.
Yeah, it depends how long it takes them to port them.
Because it is coming out December. It's not far away. To not have these games at least thought about, let alone thinking it might be.
Yeah, I
Might be
think
a
they've
mis-
probably got them set in stone. They're just slowly going to release them. Another game I'd like to see, because it's pretty much from the same era as like Dark Age. It's like a late or sort of late-ish 2D game. Would be Arabian Fight.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if anyone's ever seen this one, but it's another
I've seen-
scrolling beat 'em up, and it
Yeah,
kind
I
of
have.
has like an anime look to it. It's like high resolution sprites, and like when you do like special moves, it proper becomes anime like cutscenes and stuff. It's kind of neat.
I have played that game before. It is kind of interesting.
Again, not really a classic game, not one that people go, "Oh yeah, that game."
It's
but
mostly
it'd
just
be
a,
nice to have for the preservation and just because it's an unusual game. I actually have a little figure of the character from that. They actually did a little Gashapon figure of the girl from Arabian Fight as part of that Sega Girls
cool.
set that had like Ulala and Honey and all that. But yeah, they actually made a toy of Arabian Fight, so that was like the only time they've ever acknowledged that game.
I mean,
So-
Zaxium would be an easy one.
Oh, so stuff like Saxon, yeah, like
Saxon?
some of their really early stuff.
Yeah, but they said that.
I'll be honest, I
time-
don't really like Saxon.
No, 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 it's
I
just
think
not
it's a
good.
bit- Yeah.
At the same time, I kind of I'm also kind of doubting there'll be games that had a vertical aspect ratio. Like
Yeah,
Sonic.
same. Yeah, I think they would look a
But
bit
at
too
the same
small on
time,
that screen.
at the same time, those games ran with joysticks, so it's much more likely we'll see that than any driving game.
Just tilt the mini on its side and then you can play them.
Just
and then just play them with controls on the side. Yeah, just.
There's two games I just thought of. One was Bullet, which is an interesting System 16 shooter. That this one's a really rare game. I'd like to see them bring that back. And then there's a fighting game called Burning Rival. If they're going to bring back Dark Edge, they may as well try to bring.
Yeah.
If they're going to bring back Dark Edge, they may as well try to bring back the one time that they copied Street Fighter 2.
What's that weird motorbike game? That's a bit like
Bullets like Smash TV then.
Yeah, that's about it.
I've never heard of this one.
Oh, you never heard of it?
No, it's the first time I've seen it.
There was a cabinet that was recently found and restored and installed at the famous Galloping Ghost arcade here in America.
Wow. Okay, so if they want to get really obscure stuff that has, for preservation's sake, that would be another good one to get in there.
I mean, they've essentially got 3 options with Wonder Boy. They've obviously got the classic caveman Wonder Boy. I'd be
happy with that. I love
the original one. And then there's obviously
the arcade version of eSWAT, Cyber Police eSWAT.
That's quite a different game. It's a very different game.
I'd say
Definitely
the Mega Drive version's arguably better, but same with Shadow Dancer as well. But...
Hell, I think the Bar System version of eSWAT's better.
What about Fantasy Zone 2?
I mean, Tears of Pro,
It works on that hardware, so I don't see why not.
Maybe. I mean, that game wasn't even released as an arcade game originally, but M2, they made an arcade version of it, which could accurately run on the System 16 hardware.
You can play that on an Astro City cabinet somewhere in Japan, so...
Yeah, so they got the first Fantasy Zone. They may as well get this too.
I mean, it's likely that this is the case, but we are making the assumption that they're all going to be Sega games.
That too, yeah. What if they go third party? What could they even? That's a
big shooters.
That would add so much. That would be such a curveball. What if they put a Capcom fighter on there? Or
it's funny you bring that up because there were a couple of times back in those days where other companies would make games for Sega's arcade hardware.
Oh yeah, of course, especially Model 2 and Naomi.
Puyo is a good example. This was before
that wasn't technically a Sega game. Yeah,
this was before Sega owned the rights to Puyo Puyo.
Of course,
and same thing with Thunder Force AC actually.
Yes,
Which actually that's another game I could expect to see on this thing, Thunder Force AC.
That would be cool to see something that, not that I have a problem with the whole Sega thing, but if there was something that was not Sega, that would be cool,
I would definitely be up for the odd CPS2 game or something. Not too many, but maybe just a couple. Just fling in I don't know, Street Fighter Alpha 2 or something. I'll be quite happy.
I mean, you got to remember it's got 6 buttons on there.
It'll be great for stuff like that.
And so I wonder if they to put the 6 buttons in and not use them just seem. Well, I mean, they've got Virtua Fighter, but
that's a good point because even Virtua Fighter didn't use 6 buttons.
No, only 3.
Yeah.
So.
That's true. They've got to put something on there that uses all 6.
Yeah. So I don't know if Sega themselves had anything that was first party that used all 6, but
did Dark Edge use it?
Maybe.
Don't know.
Maybe that other fighting game.
I'm actually looking at Sega's arcade hardware on the System 16 website, and I'm trying to remember what hardware Dark Edge was made for because I haven't found it yet.
I think it was the same hardware as. Hang on, I had it up here a second.
I just found it. It was it was System 32. Same as Golden Axe Revenge of Death Adder. Actually.
Yeah, it's probably so. That probably means Arabian Fight is very possible because it was on the same hardware.
Oh, that's right.
And it came out the same year. So.
Yeah, Arabian Fight and Burning Rival were both System 32 games as well.
Yeah, so I guess it's going to depend what systems they decide to emulate, because it's clearly got System 32. It's got
System 16
is on there.
Uh,
Dream game
and-
for me, even though it's a racing game, is Outrunners.
Yeah,
I want to be able to plug two of these things together via USB and have it like the original game was, where you had the two screens and you were just playing.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
I'd like something like Kadash would be nice, the arcade version of Kadash. I know that's not Sega, it's Taito,
No,
but
that's if we're gonna go into like stuff that you would associate with an Astro City cabinet, because that's what they were most likely played in.
Yeah.
Stuff like, I don't know, Bubble Symphony, which I was talking about earlier, would be right at home on there. Stuff like that. Yeah.
I mean, I've actually played games in our Astro City cabinets before at a local convention, and it's when they have those there, most of them don't even have Sega games.
Yeah,
So, like there's a lot of stuff anyway. A lot of people were playing all kinds of Capcom stuff on those things. Like I think last year, one of the Astro Cities had the Alien versus Predator arcade game.
Oh, nice.
Not that I expect that to be on this, as cool as that would be, but
yeah. I think a lot of people would probably, when they see this cabinet, especially Japanese players, when they look at this thing, they probably think Capcom Fighters. They probably think Third Strike and stuff like that, because that's how most people, you know, even in stuff like High Score Girl, you know, the anime, they would be playing Street Fighter 2 on like Astro City cabinets. So
the vast majority of them are just copy paste of Astro City cabinets back to back, because that's just what Japanese arcades were.
Yeah, it's one of the most popular arcade cabinets ever made. Like, if I was to ever own my own arcade machine, it would be an Astro City. City's just so I can put one in it. That's why I'm so happy this thing exists, because now I don't have to buy one. I don't have to buy a full scale one, and I don't even have to buy one of them tabletop ones that someone made, because Sega themselves are making one.
You're going to do it anyway if you ever get the chance.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I probably would, but
I mean, like I say, I for one am rather hype for it. I think that this, barring some major like pratfall towards the end, where like the emulation is actually absolutely atrocious, like, you know, but I just don't think that's
I
don't think that's terribly likely.
Me neither.
Not really. It might not be perfect, but it'd probably be. Well, let's be honest. You want to play Revenge of Death Adder or not? You know, it's one of those.
I think this isn't the only thing that's going to have that game, because I know, you know, those arcade 1-up constructed cabinets. There is a Sega one coming out that does have Revenge of Death Adder on it.
Yeah, well, I could either buy like 4 of those cabinets.
That is coming out here soon. It's also going to have Golden Axe, Shinobi. It's going to have Wrestle War. And there's one other game.
I hope they don't bother to put that on the mini. That'd be a waste.
Fantasy Zone is going to be
But
on
the thing is, I could either buy one of those, 1-up, or like 4 Astro City cabinets.
Yeah.
With how expensive they are over here. Like when I saw the is it X-Men one? There's one in our Smith's Toys near where I live, and it's like £600.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
I would
like,
rather just play them on my Saturn.
yeah,
like at the moment myself.
You got really like X-Men.
Yeah. They're good games, but I'd rather just play them on my Saturn.
Welcome to Die to my wallet if I play that.
Wrong X-Men game, but yeah.
Going slightly off topic with the arcade 1-ups, apparently they've got like a wish list of games they want to put out. They've done 9 out of the 10 of the games that they wanted.
Oh, okay.
The 10th one is Donkey Kong, but yeah, they've
Nintendo would allow that, I guess, and complications around that game. Full stop.
Yeah, exactly. They are.
Mitchell's getting really hype at the concept of having another fake version of Donkey Kong to play.
Exactly.
Now they'll be officially licensed.
What about Crazy Kong?
Yeah, just chuck that on there.
Yeah, give the one then.
Yeah. I mean, a Donkey Kong multi cabinet would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a little mini one or something. Yeah, I think we pretty much. I can't think of any other games I could throw in there.
Sonic the Fighters.
If we're doing Model 2, maybe.
Yeah,
I take Virtua Fighter 2 and even Fighting Vipers over that, though.
I just thought of that because Sonic the Fighters was one of the games I remember seeing running in an Astro City at that convention I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And I just really like that game.
Sorry?
Dynamite Deco was also on a model too. Yeah,
that's true.
Dynamite Deca 2 was model 2 actually. The first one was the Sega Titan Video, the one that's based on Saturn architecture.
Yeah. I think Sonic the Fighters is possible if Model 2 is happening and it's the only Sonic game they can do, and they're like, we need to put a Sonic game on it, it may as well be that one. Like, if they can't do Sega Sonic or Sega
Give me
Sonic
Fighters Mega Mix.
Save that for a Saturn Mini when that eventually happens.
Yeah.
Unless they can somehow manage to make a Model 2 arcade game out of Fighters Mega Mix, then sure, put that on there as well. Otherwise, just get Fighting Vipers and Sonic the Fighters.
Yeah, that would be fine too. Yeah, Model 2 would definitely open it up, I'd say. But I would be fine with it if it doesn't have Model 2. If it has mostly 2D stuff, it will still be mostly good stuff. So there's plenty to choose from.
They probably don't need Model 2, but if they do get it working, they should totally get it in there.
I mean,
get a couple of games in there.
36 games, if they were all like as far as Model 1, that was the limit. That's a good chunk of Sega's like best hits, you know?
Oh, yeah. Especially if they are going to put like stuff like Outrun on there or Hang On, then you've got plenty of room for stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I do kind of wish they'd get it up to 40 just so it's a number divisible by 5.
Well, you
never know. Take one off.
But hey, even the Genesis Mini.
Take Altered Beast off and make it 35. There you go.
Just take Altered Beast off.
Just take it off in general.
You gotta leave Altered Beast in there.
No, I don't.
Nah.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. I insist.
But saying that,
it's got buried in it.
It's also a good game. Meme. It's also a damn good game. I'm sorry. Oh. I don't care who disagrees with me.
Whatever makes
I
you
love
over.
I love it.
But as for having more than 36 games, I mean, look at the PC Engine Mini. There was loads of hidden crap in that thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them adding a couple secrets.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was 36 plus 4 more, you know?
Guess we'll soon find out. If they do live streams where they slowly announce the games for this thing, like they did with the Mega Drive Mini, I am salt or hyping those.
Yes.
Because I really wish I did a salt or hype for that Japanese stream of the Mega Drive Mini. Because that was the hypest I've ever been. When they announced like Tetris and stuff, I was like running around the house. I was like, what?
I am tempted to get this.
I did the same thing too. I remember that.
I so wish I live streamed that. It was all in Japanese, so I didn't know what they were saying, but it didn't matter. When stuff like World of Illusion and Bushu were coming up, I was like, this is the best thing ever.
Shame we never got that.
Yeah, I still haven't bought a Mega Drive Mini, but if I'm going to, it's either going to be an Asian one or a Japanese one.
Or an Axe one.
Yeah, I guess. But like, I would like to have the Japanese one.
Yeah. But, you know, I'm tempted to go on Amazon and pre-order this now. It's a case of, do I want to wait to see what happens if it comes out in Europe, or do I just not want to take that risk? You know?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't happen, but then I also wouldn't be surprised if it does happen. It's kind of weird. I don't know, because it's like a Sega Toys thing. It kind of feels like it's like a separate entity to like Sega.
Well, I mean, Sega Toys also made the Mega Drive Mini.
Did they?
Yeah, they made the hardware.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
I
wasn't aware of that.
They're also doing the Game Gear Micro.
Fair enough. I did not.
Like the Mega Drive Mini is a lot more ubiquitous of a thing. It would be ridiculous not to have released the Mega Drive Mini overseas.
Yeah. I don't think Astro City Mini would really...
Doesn't have the same market shelf.
Yeah. If they released it over here, I wouldn't be surprised if they rebranded it the Sega Arcade Mini or something.
Yeah, it's totally available online.
You know? And just take the Astro City name off it.
You know, I don't see the Game Gear Micro coming to the West, at least not in its current form.
No.
I think the Astro City Mini better come to the West.
I think that's got more of a chance
It's
than
better.
the Game Gear, because the Game Gear thing is a bit too
I'll
gimmicky.
I'll import the thing even if it doesn't, but I do want to see this get an official international release anyway.
It would be nice.
I
If you're
wouldn't want to
listening,
miss out.
Sega, bring it over. If you don't, we'll buy it anyway, but if you do bring it over, I will support you.
And either way,
I will
do
support you with money.
and even if you don't, just do arcade game releases more often.
I mean,
Yeah,
Sega Age. So
Yeah, Sega Ages. That's a good start. Just do more of that, because there's a lot of these games that people are really interested in that have that we've never seen come home yet.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, like, I think that's going to turn heads a lot more than Genesis games ever will at this point, because we've had
done that.
Those Genesis games are great. I'm glad they get re-released all the time, but they're not as exciting as they were like 1 or 2 decades ago to see them come back.
When Mega Drive games come out now, it's usually based, like, the only reason I have the one that came out for the Switch is just because it was like, oh, and it's portable now, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess it's nice that collection had a couple of games that weren't ever re-released before, like the the Toe Jam and Earl games, for example. Those were on the Virtual Console, but that was the first time they were in a dedicated Genesis collection.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
like, every time they do it, they give us a couple more games than compared to what they did last time. Treasure games, another good example. None of those treasure games were in any Genesis compilation before that.
Yeah. I mean, basically, they've already. I don't think they've actually played their hand fully yet with this Astro City Mini, but they have definitely laid down the hook. You know, the bait with the Golden Axe.
Yeah, I still think that's going to be the biggest hype thing about it. I can't see them revealing anything better than that yet.
How could they?
I'll be surprised.
It'd be so hard. Like,
it would be
it's
difficult.
literally basically
Outside
just
of, like, Sega Sonic Bros. I can't see them being more hype.
Yeah,
and they'll find a way to surprise us, I'm sure. They still have 26 more games to go.
Yeah. But I'm happy with what they've announced already. Like, that's enough for me to make me want to buy it.
I'm literally going to spend £102 roughly on, you know, a Golden Axe player, basically.
with 35 extra games.
With 35 extra games, yeah. I mean, they're all like set dressing, but, you know, so like I say, I am very hyped for even a lot of the games we've already got on here are games I just want to own anyway. But yeah, anything else is extra. And when I first saw that list, I wasn't even thinking about the other 26 games. So
yeah, exactly. It's a good beginning set of games. Like,
yep.
Right.
So
yeah, they picked some great ones. They picked a couple that you would expect to be there anyway. Stuff like Fantasy Zone that we've already seen 100 times. But they also picked some really good sleeper hits. It's a great start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd never thought in the year 2020 I'd be getting excited about being able to play at Dark Edge. But here we are.
2020 keeps surprising us.
Yeah.
I'd be excited about it if this was announced in 2030.
Dark Edge. It's just some strange fighting game they made once and never ported anywhere. Yay!
Well, I'm all for games like that being brought back in some way.
Definitely, it's a preservation thing for me.
Yeah, because I'm definitely into preservation of games.
And I've always been into just obscure Sega stuff. If we're talking obscure Sega stuff, how about Hot Rod? Hot Rod would be cool.
It's one of those things where it's like, as I've gotten older and you do see that a lot of these games are getting lost to time, you do appreciate when there is a way to make them available, especially if there were games that were never officially released, but like you got, like, say, Revenge of Death Adder. It's just one of those games I never really thought I was realistically going to get to play in any official capacity.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. I didn't think that would ever happen, but they've had so many opportunities to port that game. I'm surprised they never did it on the Saturn. Like, it would have made so much sense on there.
If it was like,
it would, but I don't think any System 32 games were ever on Saturn, except for Gale Racer.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, you know, with the Sega Ages, they bring back some stuff that is a bit sort of like Herzog Savate. Who thought that was coming back? You know, I know that not everyone really has played that or cares about Herzog of Survival. It's a game I care about.
It's a damn good game.
It's a good, yes. You know, all of the games that are like MOBAs now have that to thank.
Exactly,
So yeah.
Exactly. I believe even the developers of Command and Conquer and Warcraft cited that game as an inspiration.
It's the first RTS in effect. So
yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of games on the Ages as a tangent. It's like the Ages has been fantastic to sort of bring back those games that are either archaic, like Phantasy Star, that's a bit hard to play now, and they managed to smooth those edges over to bring in
extra things to make it easier to play nowadays. Yeah,
to make it realistic to finish. Do it for 2 now, and there are other games where it's just like, I Thunder Force AC, I want that, you know. And now it exists. So, you know, Sega have done some fumbles. We've been talking about Sega quite a few times on this channel in the past with their various anniversaries, but they fumble with stuff, especially when it comes to like Sonic stuff and things. But in terms of actually,
just recently with the Game Gear Micro, it was so close to what I wanted. I just wanted a little Game Gear that plays loads of Game Gear games. That's all I wanted.
I'm so much. I'm on the fence. I'm so indifferent to it. Whereas I'd like it, but I am so indifferent right now.
If it was a Game Gear Mini, had about 30 games on it, I'd be like, "Yep, that's mine. I'm having that."
Exactly. I wouldn't have even given it a second thought. I would definitely have bought it. It's just on the verge of being a novelty too much, more than actually being a game device that I could take it or leave it.
Yeah, so I just want something that I can play my Game Gear cartridges on. I know that's not going to happen officially, but I want something that I can play my Game Gear cartridges on.
You might have to get that analog pocket.
Yeah, I am considering
Whenever
it.
that thing comes out, I can get it.
I am considering it because I love Game Gear games, but I don't like the actual console because it barely works.
That's why I don't think the Game Gear Micro is coming here. The way it's designed, it's way too geared toward the novelty keychain market in Japan, which is a big market in Japan.
Oh, totally.
But it doesn't make any sense here.
No.
Selling it the way it is here is going to be too much of an uphill battle.
I just, you know, I think with regards to, damn, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, you know, I don't think the Game Gear Mini is exactly what I want. But if it comes out here, I might. It depends what they do. They would really need to do something to impress me there. But the analog pocket, I mean, that's cheaper than that bloody Lego kit. You know,
everything's cheaper than that Lego kit, except for sealed copies of Mario Brothers. Outside of that,
so you know that's like $200 that analog pocket, and that can play quite a lot. You know, so yeah,
we don't even know when that thing's going to come out.
No.
We have a ballpark on the release date of the Astro City Mini, but Analog's got their hands tied at the moment.
Yeah.
Right, so I think that's a good place to wrap up this one. That was. I had a feeling I had to do the thumbnail with the Astro City Mini because I knew we'd be talking about it for a while. As soon as it came out, I was like, why didn't they announce this the day before so we could have talked about it on the podcast? But then we just ended up talking about it anyway. A week later, it's fine.
A lot of other stuff before that. I was afraid for a second we were going to forget about the Astro City.
When it went in the notes.
No. That weren't going to happen. This had to be talked about. As far as I'm concerned, this is the best gaming news of the year for me.
I think that's reasonable to say. I mean, that's.
I gotta wonder why this is being made for Sega's 60th anniversary, so I do kind of wonder why it wasn't announced in June like the Game Gear Micro was.
Sega can't do everything right, unfortunately. They got to mess up somewhere.
There's a lot of things they don't do right. Timing is one of them. Right, so that's been the 79th Lucky Hit podcast. I've been the Gagaman.
I've been CherryT.
I've been ShelvedGamer.
I've been Hunk Thunder.
This is Elk from Elk Plays and Paints. Good one.
Yep. So that's been that. Join us again next week for the 80th episode.
Just marching towards 100.
We're getting there. It won't be long. I think we'll get there this year.
We better have some
we'll
damn
definitely
good
get
news
there this year.
Over next week.
Yeah, hopefully. If we don't, we'll just talk about the Astro City some more. or Pac-Man or something. So
Maybe-
it usually happens.
I'm sure
Maybe
we'll
they'll reveal some more games for the Astro City
talk about them.
within the week.
As I say, if Sega of Japan want to live stream them slowly announcing the games for the thing, I will happily salt and hype it.
Yeah, or if they want to give us a review copy, you know.
Yeah, you can do that too. Or you can just
Nah.
do that. Alright.
Aren't you still blacklisted from breaking that Daytona USA trophy?
Yeah, that's probably that's Sega Arcade though. That's a different it's
Sure.
fine. We're just banned from getting the actual arcade machines. That's all.
Where are you gonna put it? Even if he could get one.
I'd find somewhere.
Not the cellar though, because of the spiders.
We've got too many spiders. I had to go down there earlier to check the meter, and there was like 100 spiders right by the door. I went in there. I was like, I don't dislike. Yeah, I was saying to Tom like, you might not want to come round. Don't go in the cellar. There's like 100
So
spiders.
you can only sleep in the cellar.
Yeah, you could sleep in the cellar with 1,000 spiders. Right, okay, we're done. We'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye.
Have a good week, everyone. Stay safe.
Yep,
So safe.
wear a mask.
Stay your ass home and
Yeah.
watch Lucky Hits streams because there's going to be a few more this week.
You've got to wear a mask in the shops soon.
Yeah, do it. It's not hard. It's just a bit
It's
of
pretty
cough.
easy.
It's pretty easy and it doesn't kill you.
Yeah, and
Unlike
don't
the
be a
thing
pan-
that you're preventing.
And don't be a pansy and pretend you can't breathe with those things.
I can breathe.
All right, we're done. All right, see you later. Bye.
Bye.
Later.